sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Morning, everybody. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for tuning in on this Wednesday morning. I am your host, Jeff Iafrate. Alongside me, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabby, Lucas Klotz in the booth, per usual. And we got a packed show for you guys today. I'm kind of slowly, getting back to reality. I had no power last night. I don't know how many people in the chat can relate to that. No power from about 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., I would say.
You didn't have it since 6?
Yeah, 6 p.m., yeah. It was bad.
Me and Easy didn't lose it at all. It wasn't even raining at our house, really.
Yeah, well, I've never seen a 10-minute storm, take out, 4 blocks. I don't know. It was 5-10 minute storm. It looked like a hurricane. And then the power went out, came back on, went out, came back on, and then went out. And then it was out for the rest of the night.
Oh, man.
And I checked DTE, and the thing that scared me is it said it'd come on today at 11 p.m. So I'm like, please no. Please no. Turn the power back on, and then middle of the night it turned back on. So we're here. I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about today. Justin Jefferson came out with his quarterback list, and it didn't feature his own quarterback. So not that matters, but we're going to get into it. NFL tier list for quarterbacks as well. Matt Broder put out an article. You're going to want to see where Goff's ranked, and I want to get if people agree or disagree. Also, top young cores in the NBA, that ranking came out. We're going to see where the Pistons are, react to that. And later in the show, in the second hour, Michael Gentry, our Red Wings beat reporter, will be joining the show to talk about Alex DeBrincat, this upcoming season, expectations, so on and so forth. And we have a clip from Brad Holmes we're going to get into in the second hour, talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. He just went on Peter Schrager's podcast. Go check that out. It's about an hour long. A lot of good stuff in there, and we'll break that all down. But before we get into anything, how are you doing this morning, Sam?
I'm doing good. I mean, I hate to say this because I don't want to rub it in, but my power also never went out. I know you live kind of on the opposite side of Metro Detroit as I do, but I feel bad for you, man. That is literally the worst, especially when it's hot outside and there's no fan or anything like that. It's the worst.
You know what I felt like? It was just me and my dog. I felt like I Am Legend. It was Will Smith and his dog.
Relax.
That's a bit dramatic.
Not dramatic.
It was, the entire block was out, no power, just me and my dog. The survival, kicked in there. No, it wasn't that big a deal. It was fine. It just stunk. I had no internet, no way to, even prep the show. I was doing it on my phone. It's a pain in the ass. Yeah. I tried to think of it as maybe I'm just camping. I'll just think I'm camping, and it makes it a little easier, but it stinks. You don't realize how, blessed you really are until you don't have power. And then you're like, oh, wait, there's people in the world that actually go through this, and I'm over here like, when's the power coming back on?
I mean, sometimes the greatest challenges come to the most worthy adversaries, and for you, Jeff, you got through it. Got through it, and it's a good thing though that you got it back earlier this morning, because you said the estimate was 11 p.m. I mean, at that point, you just go to the back, bring a cot, and sleep at the office. That's what I would probably do at this point.
Yeah, no, I definitely thought about it. It was weird. I looked at the DT map, and it wasn't it was only certain areas too. It was really weird. I mean, none of us really live relatively close. So I think I was the only one that lost power. I mean, you're the closest to me, Lucas, and you guys didn't lose power. So
yeah, we were chilling. I mean, do you really think the weather would want to mess with me and ruin my day? Working 12-hour days, it knows better than turn my power off. Came home from working out, power was on, food was getting made, cuddled up, watched some Sopranos. I had a great night. Okay.
You had Sopranos on?
I had Sopranos on.
Yeah,
HBO,
that storm
baby.
wasn't messing with your house. It wasn't. With Sopranos on, no way, no how. Some of these comments now chiming in, people talking about losing their power. Alex says, I literally lost power for days during the winter. Steve-O says, don't you have a generator, Jeff? No, I do not. Neil Rule, I'm not Neil Rule. Neil Rule would have 4 generators on deck.
He's always prepared.
And if those didn't work, he would have DT personally go to his house, only to fix Neil Rule's house and leave everybody else in the neighborhood in the dark. So I'm not Neil Rule. I don't have 15 furnaces and 4 generators. So it was unfortunate, but maybe I do need a generator now to prepare for next time. Let's see here. Ryan's reaction says, I lost internet for 4 hours. I'm a whole new person now. Yeah, that's how it really feels. Like
it does.
When you lose internet and you got to open up a book or something, you're like, wow, yeah, this is new.
Jeff couldn't watch his nightly Killian Hayes highlights that he does before he goes to bed and make him.
No, I didn't.
That's how he tucks himself into sleep every night.
No, I didn't get the best sleep. Usually before sleep, I turn on Killian Hayes highlights, I turn on some LeBron highlights, and then head to bed. But it was rough. Didn't get to watch my nightly routine highlights.
Oh, yeah. LeBron highlights. Did you go with 2012 Game 6 of the series against Boston? Was that the one you went with? Because those highlights give me the big D, if you catch my drift.
Oh my God!
Yo, Sam,
I'm coming out swinging this morning.
I'm also on Big D Energy. What'd you think I was talking about? Get your minds out of the gutter, people. Come on now.
Hey, Funky says, Jeff, don't you at least have Netflix on your phone? Yeah, you know what? That was part of it. I tried to go on Netflix on my phone, but then you lose juice in your phone, and you don't have a way to charge it unless you got to your car. So it's like there's the trade-off. Luckily, I got a wireless charger that I dug up in storage that I was able to use. That wireless charger saved my ass because without it, my phone would be dead, no power, and it would have been tough. It would have been a rough one, no doubt about it. Broder says, I put Austin Reeves highlights on before bed. They call it white noise.
Hey.
That's actually Broder with a bar.
Broder always drops little things like that where it's just like you got to think about it a little bit more, and then you're like, oh, I see what you did there.
Hey, Happy Camper Harry says, I watched Isaiah Stewart highlights, won Best Short Film Award.
Best short film.
Yeah, if you guys didn't catch that conversation me and Sam had about Isaiah Stewart, go back and watch it. YouTube video's out now on Woodward Sports, so check that out. We had an interesting conversation. Alex says, I could see Neil doing that for sure. Yeah, Neil, listen, if his power's out, the entire tri-state area, all the DT employees get alerted instantly for Neil. Nobody else, just Neil Rule. They go to his house, they service his house, and leave. Neil is he's that guy.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard. It's hard.
He's that guy. I got to read this thing from Alex Merrill because he tries to flame me here. He goes, I put Sam's take on when I go to bed. Puts me right to sleep. Nothing but water sounds. I mean, hey, if that's how you feel, that's fine. As long as you are still watching, I am all good with you. But I can guarantee you one thing. You might not like everything I say, but I will say something that you agree with if you give me enough time. You watch. It happens to everybody. Right, guys? Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Somewhat right.
That's
I
facts.
wouldn't go fully correct. JB, what did you have to say?
I said that's facts.
I appreciate that, JB.
Jake says, I figured Neil's backup generator has backup generators. See, now Jake,
Does
you're
he
getting...
have more generators or furnaces? Probably generators.
Well, combined, he has more than anybody probably on the East Coast of the United States. So, you know what,
100%.
Neil Rule? Keep doing you, man. Keep doing you. Ryan's reaction says, host of Big DTE Energy.
Hey.
Ryan, you've been on fire this morning. All right, that's a good one. Host of Big DTE Energy. Please give Neil Rule. I want all the Neil memes. If he comes in today, he's in today, right?
I
Correct?
believe so.
Yep.
Okay, so tell Neil and ask him about his power because I'm sure he'd be like, what? What power? No, I had power all night.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody else in my area was off, but only Neil Rule's house is on. Detroit Dabber says broken clock is right twice a day. I think that's towards you, Sam.
I mean, Detroit Dabber, you're right. I think less than twice a day. So I'll just go with that. You know,
Sam firing shots. Nicholas Duncan says I would watch Titanic if my power went out, so I could sync with their power going out too. Oh, I could sync with their power going out too. That's messed up, actually. But you know what? Do you, Nick? Do you? Mike G says D-Mac's clock is never off. Yeah, you better watch. I mean, D-Mac. You can never trust him what he's going to do with his clock. I mean, he might put it in your mouth. He might...
Bro, what?
Hey,
What?
Lucas, again, mind out of the gutter. That's a drop we have. He literally said that on air.
What?
Yeah, you weirdo. Where's your head going?
If you've watched some past episodes of Big D Energy, that it's a famous drop where he says,
nasty.
"You put my clock into your mouth."
That doesn't make it not a little sus.
Hey, I mean...
It's not like he just goes, yeah, we can say that. It's fine. Just say, anybody can say that whenever they want.
It's Darren McCarty, man.
Yeah,
And that's not you.
Yeah, he gets a pass. By the way, I wanted to ask everybody this. MLB All-Star festivities, the Home Run Derby, the All-Star Game. Are you watching? Did you tune in?
I tuned in more for the All-Star game. I know, Jeff, you couldn't tune into anything because you didn't
No.
have power last night.
Could not.
So you already outed yourself, but it wasn't your fault. Yeah, the All-Star game, to me, I think it is the best All-Star game of the major sports because it feels more like a real game because you can't really... Like, in basketball, obviously in the NBA, they don't play a lot of defense. The Pro Bowl was a joke after a while, but in baseball, you can't really go half speed on that. You know what I mean? You can't just throw like floaters up to hitters, and then it's just another home run derby. So I enjoyed it. It was a 3-2 National League win. Who hit it? Elias Diaz, of all people, was the hero for the NL All-Stars, playing on the terrible Colorado Rockies. Probably only got the All-Star nod because the Rockies needed someone. It's funny how that works, but I always enjoy the MLB All-Star Game. The home run derby, though, I know there's a lot of people that don't like baseball that say, why can't it always be like the home run derby? But that's a little bit too much action for me. I just enjoy the sport of baseball because I'm a little bit of an old soul.
Yeah, and also, didn't they have, for the home run derby, they had like the whoever was hitting picked who was pitching.
Yeah.
So, which, it is what it is. I wanted to bring this up because, and JB, I'll go to you, because I think me and you are more in lockstep with what we'd like to watch. Did you tune in at all?
To the All-Star Game, no. But I did watch the Home Run Derby. That was kind of actually entertaining.
Yeah.
So I got to admit, that was kind of fun, especially seeing the clips at the end. I don't know if you guys seen it or not, but the kids getting beamed by the baseballs. Because they're just all in the outfield just trying to catch everyone's home run. I'm like, what is happening?
JB, let me piggyback off of that, because it is my life's dream, even as a 31-year-old man, to be in the outfield and catching all of those fly balls that go short. Because I don't know, I have a weird thing. I just like catching things. I'm not fast. I can't hit. I'm not very athletic, but I got hands. So like if they hit pop flies to the outfield, I just want to go be all around the kids and just like catch.
Well, two things. One, imagine Sam Flannel around a bunch of kids, and the kids are trying to catch a ball, and Sam's just
I just like catching things.
I just like catching things. I'm weird. I know.
And then number two, you got hands, but you got hands like TK85 though.
I mean, I think probably I have similar hands, but he obviously has more athletic ability because he's in the NFL. He's an NFL football player. I played 2 years of high school. I get it. There's a difference.
Everyone's saying pause to Sam. What did he say? I missed it. What was the pause? Did you sneak something in there?
I think because he was around kids.
Catching balls with kids.
Yeah. Catching balls around kids.
Yeah, well.
It doesn't have to be around kids. I just want to be out there in the outfield. I will be the only one out there. Every single fly ball that goes to left field, I will just run them down. Never get tired.
Flannel would have like 12 different shirts after that one. He'd have 12 more flannels from 12 different kids. Every time they take the ball, he's slapping them and he's slitting their throat afterwards.
Jesus, now I'm a child serial killer.
Well, it's like those videos of the kids catching foul balls, and the guy just rips it out of his hands. It's like Sam Flannel. So some kid catches a ball and he's like, "Skip this, man. What you think?"
I won't rip it out of their hands. I'll catch it first, but I won't give it to them afterwards because it's mine.
Oh my gosh. What did you do to deserve this ball?
Right.
Let's see. People are chiming in here to Sam Flannel out there running routes, catching footballs. Ryan's reaction says, similar hands to TK85. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to see you and TK line up. All that smack. It's like the Ben Wallace stuff. But in this instance, we'll tell TK85 how you feel. And you guys can, from a jugs machine, who catches more football? You think you can go toe-to-toe.
Obviously, if TK85 were to run routes on me and I was trying to play DB, he would smoke me 100 times out of a million, a million times out of a million. But a jug machine, I think I would lose to TK85, but not by as much as people think.
Flannel, do you realize how fast footballs come out of jug machines? It's not like a little hey, here you go. It's like Michael Vick.
I understand. But just form the triangle, right? Just have the nose hit you
Yep,
right there.
that's all you got to do is form the triangle. Yep, that's all you got to do.
That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. It sounds like shots. I love it. I love it, man.
I love you,
we'll go to break when we get back. I want to bring up this list Justin Jefferson had for his quarterbacks, and we'll react to them, and we'll see who he had ranked at 2, which I know Sam Flannel, he was getting a little excited. Pause on that, but he was getting a little excited when he saw who was ranked 2. We'll get into all that and more. But before we do, Sam, can you tell us about our friends over at Swiss Insurance?
Absolutely. And now that summer's here, it is important to make sure you are properly covered, whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool. Your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at swissins.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you can't watch live, it's all good. You can go back and re-listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Music. Leave a 5-star review for Mr. Sam Flannel and his wonderful flannels. If you're on the website, don't forget, check out the latest news, articles, updates, merchandise, everything. The website has it, so be sure to do that. But I want to show this list off and get your guys' thoughts on it. Justin Jefferson came out with his quarterback list, and I love when, it was a fan who asked it, but I love when they, wide receivers especially, list their top 5 quarterbacks or list their best quarterbacks, especially if they're playing for one, because it puts you in a predicament. It's like if you asked Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he said, who's your top 5 quarterbacks? Do you think there's part of that where he has to mention Goff? Like, isn't there a part of it? Like, he could legit go, well, be analytical and go, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen. But in reality, you're like, ugh. And then, because then you see Jair Alexander say they have the best quarterback in the league for the Packers. So there's like that confidence. Yeah. You want to give your quarterback confidence, but you also don't want to be an idiot and you want to be realistic. You listen. Do you have the video, Lucas?
I got a graphic for it. The
so
video
throw up the graphic, and then
now.
we'll show the video later. But here's Justin Jefferson's quarterback list he came out with, or he listed.
Good thing you can't see it. Hold on. I'll get it back to you. Let me.
No, but I'll go through the list, to be honest with you. I'll just read it off. So number 1, he has Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, which fair, no one disagrees with that. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. 2, Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh.
I know Sam loved that one. 2 in the NFL. This isn't NFC. Obviously, he's in the AFC now, but there it is. There's the graphic. Aaron Rodgers. 3, Joe Burrow. 4, Jalen Hurts. 5, Josh Allen. So, Justin Jefferson, man knows the game, but clearly there's something wrong with this list. I mean, immediately what stands out is Hurts over Allen, but Aaron Rodgers over Burrow and Allen and Hurts. It's just a lot of things are confusing here, Sam. But first question, your reaction to the list.
Well,
from Justin Jefferson.
Here's the thing. Obviously, we all know Kirk Cousins is in one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Nobody would say that. But if I'm Justin Jefferson, and remember, Justin Jefferson is famous for getting off to, by the numbers, the greatest 3-year start in any wide receiver has ever had in the NFL. And his quarterback the whole time has been Kirk Cousins. So as much as people act like Kirk Cousins is mid, and Justin Jefferson is obviously arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Kirk Cousins has had a lot to do with Justin Jefferson's success, other than Justin Jefferson obviously being great. Lucas, I heard you scoff at that, but the reality of the situation is Kirk Cousins does put up regular season numbers. So I would have liked to have seen Justin Jefferson put Kirk Cousins at number 5, maybe throw him a bone, I would say. But obviously you don't put him over Patrick Mahomes. He's a very smart man over that. And I know you guys are all going to scoff about Aaron Rodgers at number 2. Here's why it is absolutely appropriate. Because what did I just say about Justin Jefferson? He has had, by the numbers, the greatest 3-year start to a career any wide receiver has ever had in history. And during all 3 of those seasons, he has played in the same division as one Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers had a down year for him last year, but in 2020 and 2021, Justin Jefferson's first 2 seasons, Aaron Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs while throwing for a combined 85 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
Ooh.
Is that good? Is that good, Jeff Iafrate?
It is good.
That's pretty good. That's about a 9.5 to 1 touchdown to interception ratio. So Justin Jefferson has had to sit on the sidelines and watch Aaron Rodgers 4 times during that stretch and watch Aaron Rodgers put up 2 great years. So I'm not even mad at it. I wish personally that he would have thrown his quarterback just a small bone and put him at number 5. That's my only beef with it.
And I want to ask too for a different perspective, because and I'll get to the list in a second. Don't worry about it. But just to try and get in Justin Jefferson's head and compare it to the Lions, Gabby, could you see a situation where Amon-Ra St. Brown, if they asked him top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, do you think he would fib a little bit and throw Goff in there just to give him some love, or do you think he'll just keep it straight like Justin Jefferson, and be like, yeah, he ain't in the top 5? Because I can see Amon-Ra saying he's a top 5 quarterback.
I think he would include him as a top 5 quarterback, would actually believe that.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't think he would lie about it, and I don't think he would fib about it. I think it would be his honest truth.
And we'd still love him for it.
Yeah.
You know what? Say he's a top 5 quarterback. That's okay. Leave it to us to break all that stuff down.
He sticks with his team.
And
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, as they should.
God.
I mean, if Justin Jefferson put Kirk Cousins in the top 5, although we'd all disagree with it, like there's a part of it where you're like, I understand. He's throwing you the football.
Absolutely.
So, like, you got to kind of kiss his ass a little bit. But, JB, Aaron Rodgers, 2 in the NFL. What's going on? And Hurts over Allen. Is that fair?
Yeah, that one's fair. Hurts over Allen. I was going to say the best or the coldest QBs are at 3 and 4. I even know Sam is probably happy with Aaron Rodgers at 2 right there. But still, then again, I got to respect Justin Jefferson for this. Just because not throwing your QB on the list, I mean, he doesn't have to like his QB like that to put him in the top 5. And hell, it would probably be disrespectful if you put him in his top 5 to all the other QBs that he actually added onto this list as well, too. You think Kirk Cousins is sitting here thinking like, oh, I have to put Justin Jefferson on my top wide receiver list. I mean, his list might be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. No, and again, for at least ranking quarterbacks, I don't know if this is because Sam brought it up too, and Justin Jefferson's had a front row seat to Aaron Rodgers in the NFC North. But again, with those MVP seasons, I understand back-to-back MVPs, but you have to go off, for me at least, I go off, if Jalen Hurts is on that list, you're going off last season too. Like recency, what matters is what you last saw. And what I last saw of Aaron Rodgers wasn't great.
Right.
Like he didn't have, I mean, how many 300-yard passing games did he have last season?
That would be 0, Jeff.
And again, he lost Devontae Adams. I'm not trying to, it's not poo-poo on Aaron Rodgers' time. But regardless, if you're going off what you last saw, Sam, there's no way you can have Aaron Rodgers in the top 5 right now at this point. Just going off what you saw last season. If Hurts is in there, because if you're going off legacy, Hurts shouldn't be in there.
But obviously, Justin Jefferson, I mean, I know he's a great football player. I mean, he's not just a great football player, probably the best wide receiver in the game right now. But if you're asking him to give a top 5 kind of off the cuff, I don't know if he's considering certain criteria versus others, because obviously Aaron Rodgers wasn't great last year. Even I know that as somebody who is a fan of his. But he was so great in 2020 and 2021 in Justin Jefferson's first 2 seasons that I think it is okay that Justin Jefferson is putting him on this list. It doesn't have to be a perfect criteria. And just for the record, I wouldn't put Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen either. I mean, Jalen Hurts, whether you like it or not, has been so far, I think he's going to validate it this year, a bit of a one-year wonder. Obviously, he was arguably the second best quarterback in the league just last year, especially if you include what he did in the Super Bowl. But Josh Allen has had 3 consecutive seasons of throwing 35-plus touchdown passes. So the criteria is obviously not a set one. There's just a variety. I mean, when we all do our lists of anything, it's not just, it's what have you done for me lately versus resume versus maybe how do you want it? What do you prefer? You know,
right.
It's not always
your flavor.
Yes, your flavor.
And I think everybody's list and what factors into it's different. And Lucas, I'll go to you on this because me and you kind of see the game in a similar way at least. I think the top 3 is undisputed. I think Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and if you want to swap Allen and Burrow, so be it. But those 3 have to be in the top 3. Am I off on that?
I agree with you. And Flannel's completely spot on with Justin Jefferson has gotten dicked down enough by Aaron Rodgers and the Packers to know, hey, I don't want to disrespect this guy at all because he's proven me wrong many times. And in the video that he said, it was from some I think it was like some Mexican sports network that got this out there. And every time he would list the quarterback, he'd always say, I respect his game. I respect his game. So he was basing it off the games that he respects the most, I think. And which is fair. Which is fair. And that's why I think he had Rodgers at 2. But Aaron Rodgers is not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. And yeah, I would probably, right now, I would leave Allen over Hurts. I want to see it one more time just because Hurts does have so many weapons around him. But I don't have too many issues with it. And I'm very happy you didn't leave Kirk Cousins on this list because if Kirk Cousins was on any top 5 quarterback list, your NFL IQ is instantly invalid in my opinion. I don't care if he's your quarterback or not. He's a great regular season quarterback statistically, but when you have a big time game, even in the regular season, the reason he probably left Jalen Hurts on here, not Kirk Cousins, because he saw what the Eagles did to Minnesota this year when they went into Philly.
Oh, so that man. Speaking of seeing ghosts, Sam Darnold. Yeah, Kirk Cousins was seeing ghosts that game. I love this comment too. Paul Thomas. He says, and this is an interesting list, guys. What about this one? Burrow, Mahomes, Malik Willis.
Jeez. Jesus Christ.
Dude, did you hear the rumors about Malik Willis and Will Levis in camp where Malik Willis, they're saying, is outperforming Will Levis? Like, there's no doubt about it. But they're still going to cut Malik Willis, most likely. Which, say what you want. Tennessee, you got Ryan Tannehill. You want to roll with Will Levis coming out next. But if Malik Willis is showing any potential of being better than Will Levis, you don't start Will Levis, ever. I would be more confident Malik Willis week 8 than Ryan Tannehill week 1 at this moment.
I guess that's like the politics or the tough part, because you just draft a guy in the second round, and you have a Malik Willis who was drafted in the 3rd round. You got to keep one of them. You look like an idiot if you get rid of Will Levis. So
do you really though?
I mean,
I think you look like an idiot regardless.
Well, yeah, especially if you cut Malik and he actually turns out to be decent. You look like an idiot. But also for Will Levis, they must believe he has higher upside. I don't like Will Levis. I never did. But I'm trying to see it from their perspective. You have to at least think maybe over time he can be better than Malik Willis. But yeah, if he's not performing him in training, I mean,
they just don't want to give up on him.
That's an L.
They don't want to give up on him like too soon, because this is still his rookie season. So they want to hold some faith to him. But
and my eyeballs got to see Malik Willis in an NFL game.
Oof.
Yeah.
Here's
my eyeballs did not enjoy it. I'll give you the hint there.
Look, Malik Willis, I think he's not good yet at all. I'm not even gonna say that, but he gets shit on way too much. Like he had nothing to throw to. Derrick Henry was a shell of himself last year. He had a bad O-line, and his defense was not that good. I mean, what receivers did he have to throw to last year? Robert Woods? Treylon Burks was hurt for most of the season.
That was an L by the GM to trade A.J. Brown, not give him
the GM
is a big
ruined everything.
Because Treylon Burks is, I mean, he's decent.
He's a dog. No, Treylon Burks is good.
He
just got killed.
I mean, he is. I don't think he'll ever be A.J. Brown. I don't think. That
No,
type of
yeah,
1,500 yards a year type guy. So that's an L by Tennessee. But overall, the list, hate it, but also I understand it. If you want to say Aaron Rodgers, I got to see him in person. The guy's a stud, even though he, consistently over the last, roughly a decade has fallen short in the playoffs. I understand that. You can go with Aaron Rodgers. No doubt, I would give Aaron Rodgers this. I would give him this. I would say Aaron has the most talented arm I have at least ever watched. Now, Mahomes, Allen, you're seeing guys now that come out of the league, but at least with Aaron, dude's got an arm. I'll give him that. But I've always had part of me has always felt like Aaron Rodgers is just, and I got to watch when I say this, but a little more overrated than, I for my taste at least. For a guy who, as great as he is, to have one Super Bowl and to fall short consistently in the playoffs, it does eat at me a little bit. I mean, especially, and maybe that's being a Lions fan too, being bitter. But at the same time, he's too damn good to have just one Super Bowl.
And you know what? I will even agree that is, and I'm not saying that all of Aaron Rodgers' playoff losses are his fault, like all of you in the chat are going to tell me right now. Some of them are, but some of them his defense definitely let him down, and the whatnot. I mean, how are you supposed to win in the NFC Championship in 2016 against that Atlanta Falcons offense that puts up 44? But anywho, I digress. The one I would say hole on Aaron Rodgers' legacy is that his team didn't accomplish more while he was there. All it would take for him to be considered, in my opinion, a consensus top 5 quarterback of all time. I already think he is, by the way. But for it to be the consensus is for him to have one more Super Bowl MVP. Just think about how much Super Bowl MVP number 2 did for Patrick Mahomes' legacy. Another Super Bowl earlier on in Aaron Rodgers' career could have done something similar for him, where he would have been looked at as he's put together a career as a starter of 5 to 7 seasons, and he's already a top 5 quarterback of all time, but it never happened.
Right.
And he's got to live with that until maybe next year. But even I, as the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan at this network, doesn't think that they're going to win the Super Bowl next year or win another one, period, while he's with the Jets.
You're wearing that hot dog suit's what you're doing.
I'm not wearing that hot dog suit because Aaron Rodgers will lose in the playoffs at Arrowhead to the Kansas City Chiefs.
In
the AFC Championship game at Arrowhead to the Kansas City Chiefs, a.k.a. the Monstars, because when they come out of the tunnel, hit 'em high, hit 'em high, hit 'em high, hit 'em low, hit 'em low. That is what is going to be playing at Arrowhead every single time the Kansas City Chiefs roll out there, and opponents are just going to wilt like warm lettuce, as I've already said before.
Well, it could be playing at Arrowhead, but also it could be playing in your headphones while you're working out at Planet Fitness.
Absolutely.
If you think about it.
Well, yes, 100%.
That was good, Jeff.
Hey, that is a very good transition. And because I know I am a bit of a monstar myself, I have to hype myself up every time I'm at Planet Fitness with with the Monstars music. And you also can go to Planet Fitness because Planet Fitness has all of the best amenities when it comes to the gym, and you can get all of that for only $10 a month. It is absolute highway robbery. Or you can upgrade to the Black Card for $24.99 per month. And right now, all summer long, Planet Fitness is offering the gym for free to teenagers between the ages of 14 through 19. All you gotta do is register today, and you get access to the gym all throughout August 31st. And that means you have a little bit more than a month and a half. And that is plenty of time to take advantage of this deal. If I were that age, I would 100% be doing that, and you all should too. And for all the rest of us, you can join today in club or online, or visit planetfitness.com. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential. I'm wearing a long sleeve flannel. I can't show off the guns, but that's okay.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
How would you like to race our very own Darren McCarty on a mower? I would. Join Woodward Sports Network live this Thursday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. as we broadcast live for Christmas in July at Outdoor Equipment Company. Great pricing on everything in stock. Mowers, tractors, handhelds, and even snowplows. 0% financing and free delivery. It's Christmas in July at Outdoor Equipment Company in Ray, Michigan.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We just got done talking about Justin Jefferson's top quarterback list. And now I want to get into this article now you can find on woodwardsports.com. And it talks about quarterback tiers for 2023. It's by our guy, Matt Broder. He does great work. And I was reading this yesterday. And, you know, he listed each of the quarterbacks, each tier he thinks they belong in. And I want to get your guys' reaction to it. I just sent you, Lucas, where Jared Goff ranks, the graphic. And we can put it up when I get to him. But we'll start with the easy stuff. And this is a reaction article off Will Brinson, CBS Sports, his quarterback tier. So Matt Broder did his version of his quarterback tiers. And we're going to go with our guy, Matt Broder. We're going to react to his quarterback tiers, not Will Brinson. Woodward Sports' own Matt Broder. So we'll start here. Tier 1, Mahomes only.
Yes.
In his own tier, which I actually like. No, I don't mind. Mahomes is in his own tier.
100%. I'm so glad that he did this because Patrick Mahomes right now, when it comes to accomplishments, ability, and team accomplishments, he has no rival when it comes to the younger batch of quarterbacks. Because when it comes to the younger batch of quarterbacks, none of them have a Super Bowl MVP. The only one who has a regular season MVP is Lamar Jackson in 2019, but that seems like ages ago. So right now, it's Patrick Mahomes' world, and everybody else is living in it. I know, Lucas, even you as a Joe Burrow stan would agree with that as of right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If Joe Burrow would have beat him this year in the AFC Championship, I would have put Joe Burrow over him just because you can't beat somebody 4 times in a row and say they're not better than him. But he didn't. Yep. Mahomes has 2 rings. So, yeah. Mahomes
so tier 1, Mahomes sits by himself, which I think rightfully so. I feel that way too. I think Mahomes is in a tier of his own, and there's guys that are right outside of that. But to put anybody in Mahomes' tier is just, you can't at this point in time. Now, tier 2 features a couple different quarterbacks. So tier 1, Mahomes. Tier 2, Joe Burrow, Hurts, Allen, Rodgers. Okay, and
so Broder's got the
Okay, Broder, I love you. I do. I appreciate you. You are so wrong here with Aaron Rodgers in tier 2. Are you kidding me? In the same tier as Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow.
Get him.
Why? Well, you know, I like to do something. I call it the eyeball test. You watch with your eyeballs. And how in the hell could you see what you saw last year and put this man in tier 2? With, by the way, Allen, who you just alluded to. Last 3 seasons, over 35 touchdowns this season.
Yes.
AFC Championship appearance. Toe-to-toe with Mahomes. Jalen Hurts. Toe-to-toe with Mahomes. Joe Burrow, toe-to-toe with Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers is looking at Mahomes from 3 miles away. These guys should be in a different tier of their own. Your reaction, though, to that, Sam Flannel. I can't wait to hear it.
Okay,
Aaron Rodgers in tier 2.
All right, so
defend it.
So, in my opinion, he is clearly not as good right now as Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow. But the problem is that Aaron Rodgers, he only had one bad season, which was last year, which was only a bad season by his standards. By a lot of quarterback standards, it would be a good year, and by all objective measures, I would say he was very, very mid, especially when you combine the fact that the Packers went 8-9 on the season. But like I always keep saying, the previous 2 seasons before that, he won both MVPs. And as I just looked up today, threw a combined 85 touchdown passes and 9 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, you don't just lose it all overnight. I think losing Devontae Adams had a lot to do with it. And I think this year going to a more talented roster in New York than they had than last year's Green Bay Packers team, Aaron Rodgers is going to bounce back. But no, he's not as good as Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow. And once we reveal tier 3, I would argue that there might be a name or two that he's not as good as on that tier yet.
Well, this is how I'll let everybody else react to this, but I got to just say this, and this is how I feel now. Matt Broder, it's his ranking, so he can do whatever he wants. But now I'm still going to shred it, and I'll tell you what. If one good year can get you in a tier, one bad year should put you out of a tier. That's how I feel.
Facts.
Is that fair? So if Jalen Hurts' one good year could put him in tier 2, Aaron Rodgers' bad year could take him out of it.
Okay, but
you can't give a guy, the benefit of the doubt for having one great year, like Hurts. But then if Aaron Rodgers has one bad year, it's like, well, it's just one bad year. If one good year could put you in a tier, one bad year I think should drop you a tier.
Okay, but
is that fair?
So it's fair if Aaron Rodgers actually had this horrific season. He still threw 26 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. It wasn't a bad year. It was a bad year for him. It was a mid-year overall. And Jalen Hurts, I think what cemented his case into tier 2, and I'm not even necessarily saying I agree with it, but I understand the argument. I'm pretty sure he finished second in the MVP voting, either second or third. He did. And then that performance in the Super Bowl really put it over the top for me. He played almost a perfect game other than that fumble that he lost, which Kansas City returned for a touchdown. That was obviously a terrible mistake, but he more than made up for it for the rest of his game. So to me, Jalen Hurts showed me something in the Super Bowl last season, along with having an MVP caliber season. The only reason he didn't win it is because he's in the same league as Patrick bleeping Mahomes. So Jalen Hurts' great year was more great than Aaron Rodgers' bad year was bad. And Aaron Rodgers was just coming off of 2 consecutive MVPs.
Now, and I don't want to spend too much time on Aaron Rodgers because we could break this down and make fun of it all show. But I'll start now with tier 3. So tier 2, you heard it. Tier 3 is Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson. Now, Broder is essentially saying that Aaron Rodgers is in a tier above Trevor Lawrence, Lamar, and Justin Herbert. And that's where also you lose me a little bit because I would take Trevor Lawrence right now. But again, if you want to go off back-to-back MVPs, fine. But tier 3, Herbert, Lawrence, Lamar Jackson. And I don't want to break that down too much. I want to get to Goff. Tier 4. Now, there's a list of quarterbacks. If you have the graphic, Lucas, could you throw it up for me? This is tier 4, the yeah buts, as in yeah, but quarterbacks that could be on the fringe of being in the next tier, but also just kind of in the middle of the pack, and you see it right there. And again, if you guys disagree with any of these quarterbacks or guys that you don't think should be in here, or someone that you think should be in here, feel free to chime in the chat. But you notice Goff is at the top of this list. And I think Broder did that intentionally because Broder does give Goff a lot of credit. He likes him as an underdog to win MVP, and Broder's always been on the side of Jared Goff. So assuming you put him at the top of this list, meaning he's the better, best quarterback out of this bunch, you look at who's there with them: Jared Goff, Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa, Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins. Now, put the camera on me. This is where I'm going to get Broder.
Please.
This is where I'm going to get him. This is where I'm going to get him.
Please.
Get him.
Deshaun Watson's in tier 4 off one bad year.
And keep going. Just keep going.
Deshaun Watson's in this tier because of one bad year. But Aaron Rodgers, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Not a bad year, but Deshaun Watson to me, when he listen, one bad season. Besides that, Deshaun Watson has always been one of the better quarterbacks.
When he's healthy, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, and Broder says one bad year after 2 years of literally nothing. See, and this is where the rankings get complicated. I don't think Deshaun should be in that tier. What say you?
Okay, so I have to...
Because you picked the Browns to win the division.
I have to pick apart something you said, which was one of the worst things you've ever said on this show, Jeff Iafrate, and I say that with all due respect.
Let's do it.
Are we really comparing Deshaun Watson's bad year, in which he threw 7 touchdowns for 5 interceptions, an awful year, where the previous year he was suspended, to an Aaron Rodgers season in which he threw 26 touchdowns and 12 picks? And also, Deshaun Watson doesn't have any MVPs, although his 2020 season was damn good, and he was a damn good quarterback. 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions is a hell of a lot worse than Aaron Rodgers' 26 and 12.
No, that's cute, Sam, but how many games did he play?
He didn't play very many, but still, when he played, he was terrible. Okay, fine, but 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. You're saying that's the same bad year as Aaron Rodgers' 26 and 12.
If you want to go through the numbers,
oh my God.
7 touchdowns in 6 games. Let's do the math here.
Okay.
If we go 17 games, how many touchdowns is that?
That is
about 20 touchdowns. If you want to factor it all in.
7 touchdowns for 6 games. 6 times 3 is 21. Okay, fine, whatever.
And Aaron Rodgers had 26. He would have thrown 21 in a season. Okay, 5 touchdown difference. You can have it. I don't really give a shit. Deshaun Watson, to me, should be a tier above. I mean, just a year or 2 years prior, almost 5,000 yards. So, like, I don't know. It's not how I view it, but Lucas, you have something to say on it, too.
Yeah. Never, ever do I want to see Jimmy Garoppolo's name in the same tier as Jared Goff again in my life. Look, I get it. Jimmy Garoppolo, he was in a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan. You could take about every 32 quarterback in this league, and they're going to get close to winning a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan. This man, Jimmy Garoppolo, this year, walked out of the back of the fucking end zone. There is no way that you put Jimmy Garoppolo's name with Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford. I can't stand Dak, but Dak's even a tier above him. Jared Goff. Jimmy Garoppolo is not even close in today's NFL to Justin Fields. So the fact that Justin Fields is under and you're going to throw Jimmy Garoppolo blows my mind. I get it, he wins. But there's a difference. There's Jared Goff, who people call a system quarterback, but he makes the system a little bit better. You could argue Jimmy Garoppolo made that 49ers offense a little bit worse when they had to throw the ball. He belongs nowhere on this tier next to Jared Goff's
Lucas,
name.
I actually am probably as big of a Jimmy Garoppolo hater as you are, because I watched it last season. Brock Purdy, when he took over, played quarterback better for the San Francisco 49ers than any time in Jimmy Garoppolo's career.
Yep.
And I hate this idea that, Jimmy Garoppolo wins games. No, he doesn't win games. The team win games. And that Super Bowl run we were talking about, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, including a win in which he completed 6 passes. And then in the Super Bowl, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. And remember that win at Lambeau Field in which he led his offense to a whopping 6 points. And then the special teams blocked a punt and returned it for a touchdown. But you know what? I kept hearing from people, oh my God, Jimmy Garoppolo in the 2-minute drill, he just led that team to a game-winning field goal. Oh, by the way, to the 6... Because before that, he had only led his team to 3 points in that entire game. Jimmy Garoppolo, the whole Jimmy Garoppolo wins thing, he is one of the more lucky quarterbacks in the NFL, no doubt about it.
Yeah, he got drafted to New England, who in that time was the most QB-friendly system you could be in, because when he got suspended with Brady, and Jacoby Brissett arguably looked better than him, and then he hurt his finger, and he made Jacoby Brissett play with a broken finger. Goes to Shanahan, hits the jackpot. I mean, Shanahan made Nick Mullins look like a decent NFL quarterback.
He really
so the
did.
fact that people are just like investing to Jimmy G stock, like just watch the guy's film. When he throws the ball, you're holding your breath, hoping it doesn't go to the other team. In the Super Bowl, which was here, he could have cemented his legacy as maybe a mid quarterback, put him in the Trent Dilfer category.
Oh, come on.
Emmanuel Sanders running wide open down the field on a post to win the game, win the Super Bowl, Jimmy. All you had to do, it's not even like it was close. Emmanuel Sanders was wide open, overthrew.
And for all people that want to check out the article, I got it in the chat thread. You can go check it out, react to it. Matt Broder. And again, this man does leave Easter eggs in his articles, which I love. So go check those out, see if you can find some of them. I found something about Deshaun Watson, and he said something about massaging, or I forgot what it was. And I'm like, you sick dog. But he snuck it in there. It's funny. Go check out Broder's article.
He did.
We're going to go to break. When we get back, I want to bring up this young core ranking in the NBA, see where the Pistons are ranked, get your guys' reaction to it. Before we do that, Can you tell us about our friends over at Randy Wise?
Happy to. Randy Wise is where you can go and make the wise choice and pick a fantastic vehicle that will make you feel like a celebrity. And after you do that, be sure to go and watch the first episode of the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour, now on the Woodward Sports YouTube and website, with the one, the only Coach Harbaugh. Check it out, available now.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, almost into the second hour of the show. And don't forget, if you're watching live on our YouTube channel, hit the like button, subscribe. If you can't watch live, you can go back and listen on any podcast app you listen to. Morning Woodward Show. Leave a 5-star review. And if you're on the website, check out, again, we just went through Broder's article. Check out his articles and everybody else's on the website. Updates, sports updates, show clips, and merchandise. I want to get into these rankings now on where the Pistons rank in all of this. Now, for the graphic, and I'm going to send Lucas this in a second so you guys can react to it and see it live. The Pistons are featured on it, but I want to get your reaction to, is it fair where they're ranked? And I'll give Lucas a second to pull it up. This is Bleacher Report that put out this ranking. Pistons Talk also made a graphic showing where teams are ranked. And you guys can feel free to chime in. Lucas, whenever you're ready, you throw it up for me. This is Bleacher Report. This is Pistons Talks, his graphic, but this is Bleacher Report's article that it's based off of. Check this out. Top 10 young cores in the NBA. And number one, and I can't believe this is an actual thing here, but you know what? When you get arguably the greatest prospect of all time, it does help your young core. I do agree with that. But check this out. The Spurs are ranked number one.
Dude, why does it keep doing this? Keep going. I gotta adjust it.
Young cores?
So
is Victor Wembanyama the entire young core?
He's not the entire young core. This ranking is entirely dependent on if Victor Wembanyama pops or not. Because if he's the player that everybody thinks he is going to be, he is going to be basically a young core himself. But they do have Devin Vassell, who, by the way, the Pistons passed on to take Killian Hayes. I'm just pointing that out there. Last season he averaged 19, 4, and 4 on 44, 39, 78 shooting splits, although he was hurt for a lot of the year. And when they talk about young core, they talk about players going into their age 23 season or less. And when I talk about core, when I'm making these rankings or when I'm taking it into account is the top 3 players on their core. So I mentioned Victor Wembanyama and then Devin Vassell. And then they Jeremy Sohan, I guess, would be their number 3.
The guy who shoots one-handed free throws.
And the guy who talks shit to LeBron on Twitter while having a 24% career three-point percentage.
That.
I'm not going to respect that because he's not a bum, but right now he's just a rookie who averages 11 and 5 on 45% field goal. So here's the thing. If Victor Wembanyama pops, sure, that's they're number 1. But if he doesn't, that's kind of a mid, especially Jeremy Sohan as your third best player, 23 or under.
I don't think this should. I think Oklahoma City should be 1. Like I don't know who has a better young core than them. If you want to say Victor alone makes them better, okay. But Chet, Josh Giddey, like both Jay Wills, they have both of them. In the collection of young talent they've been able to add, they just drafted Cason Wallace out of Kentucky as well. So I like what they're building in OKC. I think this should be 1. I don't think it should really be that much of a debate. But hey, go off. You love Victor, fair.
Well,
number 3, New Orleans Pelicans. Okay. I don't hate it. Number 4, the Orlando Magic, which I could see. They have a lot of young talent there, too. Rockets, I don't mind at all. I think the Rockets are building something special. And my theory is the only reason why the Rockets, the Magic, they're ranked above the Pistons is Cade did not play last season. Jalen Green did. So I think that factors into it. So I'm actually fine with where they're ranked. I'm not going to sit here and pound the table and say the Pistons should be higher ranked. They're 6th. It's fine. You're a top 6 young core in the NBA. Again, this is based off of what they have now. Projections can get a little muddy. You don't know what Ivy and Cade and Nassar, all these guys are going to turn into. They very well could be the best young core or best collection of young talent in a couple years. But right now, I don't have a problem with this. Do you have a problem with the Rockets over the Pistons?
You know what? Believe it or not, when it comes to the Rockets over the Pistons, I actually do have a problem with it because here's the thing about the Houston Rockets. As you know, I'm not a fan of theirs, especially when they added Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks in free agency. I thought those moves made absolutely no sense, and they're both bad deals. But even despite all that, Jalen Green, obviously, he talks like, oh, I'm a bucket. And obviously, he scores a lot of points. He averages 22 a game, but on 42, 34, 79 shooting splits. 79 is fine, but 42% and 34% from 3 is just not good enough. Basically, at that point, you are a shot jacker. And then Kevin Porter Jr., who basically plays the exact same position as Jalen Green. I'm not saying that they do different things, but at the same time, I don't think they fit well together. He had a good season, 19, 5, and 6 on 44, 37, 78 shooting splits, but again, I think they kind of play the same position. And then you look at Sengun, who I actually like Sengun. Yeah. I think he's
Rockets fans would tell you he's the next coming of Jokic.
Which is crazy, but at the same time, he has a skill set that you need in the modern NBA, 15, 9, and 4 on 55% field goal percentage. But the thing about the Houston Rockets is, with that young core, they didn't have the excuse of one of their players missing 72 games. Kevin Porter Jr. missed 23, but Sengun and Jalen Green were relatively healthy.
Yes.
And they still only won 22 games. What's their excuse? All those players, I guess, are good young pieces. I mean, they're all pretty good young pieces, but I don't think their core when it comes to those 3 is better than the Pistons core right now.
I want to read some of these comments too. People are chiming in. Wyatt says Rockets have had better opportunities to pick than the Pistons. Probably same with the Magic. Real Cream of Wheat says I think Pistons should be further down this list. And Big Show Picks says Jalen Green and Josh Christopher have a very special connection.
Yeah, they do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, not anymore.
Well,
that's so funny that the GMs, the second he saw that video, shipped him to Memphis. Christopher, oh my God! I wish we could play that video on here, but we're not gonna scare the audience away.
Well, yeah, I don't even know what to say. I don't. That video, man, is yeah, it's interesting to say the least. But again, the Pistons are 6. Who's behind them? Let's react to that real quick. If we could show that.
I got you.
Because behind the Pistons, I don't think it's too far off either. Maybe you can have a debate there, but 7 Minnesota Timberwolves, which what young core?
Anthony Edwards.
That's it.
Yeah. Hey, they got Rudy Gobert to help him though.
Rudy Gobert
help excel his progress.
Rudy Gobert to help Anthony Edwards.
I mean, you kind of have to put him up there because they have a Hall of Famer in Cat. So
to
leave the Timberwolves off any list, it would just be disrespectful. Don't you agree,
that's fair.
He's not part of the young core though, Lucas.
I know, but just the fact that the Timberwolves have Karl Anthony Towns, they should be higher on this list just because they have a Hall of Famer.
Walking 25 and 10.
My God, stop it.
And then, saving that ring finger.
Number 8, the Indiana Pacers, which, it's fine. I like what the Pacers are building, definitely. I don't have a problem with that at all. Number 9, Hornets. Okay, Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, Mark Williams. They got, which I actually like Mark Williams.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think our boy Sean Murphy went a little bit too hard on Mark Williams, acting like Jalen Duren is like eons ahead of Mark Williams. They're somewhat similar. Jalen Duren is better.
Yeah, he is.
Jalen Duren is better.
If I liked Mark Williams coming out, but Duren to me, like you'd take him every time over Mark Williams just because of how their careers are playing out so far. But Mark Williams is a pretty good player too. 10. The Portland Trailblazers, which now with the addition of Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe, my guy, I advocated for him last year. They got a nice core going on in Portland too. So I don't really have an issue with this list. I know people are, you look at the list and Broman says rankings is close. OKC probably number 1. I think Pistons missed on Ivy. Should have drafted Ben Mathurin, better fit.
Yeah.
Well, you got to think about this too, Broman, because at the time they drafted Ivy, you needed somebody else that can make plays with the basketball. Ben Mathurin is a good scorer. He can score the basketball, but you can't just have a system based around just Cade. Although Cade is your system, he's your connector, you need somebody else alongside him. That's why I'm all for the Ivy pick, because trust me, I wanted Shaedon Sharpe. I thought, hey, you put a scorer next to Cade, it'd be awesome. But I understand why they took Ivy.
Sure.
Like when Cade's out of the game, you have somebody you can, hey, give the ball to, go make plays. Ben Mathurin can't do that. I mean, last year, both the rookie years, Ben Mathurin in points, little higher, I believe, than Ivy, but still, he led him in rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. I mean, everything, essentially. And the shooting for Ben Mathurin kind of drained down at the end of the season. So I would still take Ivy, but because it sounds like Easy. That's what Easy says. You know, you'd take Ben Mathurin.
Well, but to Easy and all the people who still came up for Benedict Mathurin, I'm not saying he had a bad rookie year. He most certainly did not. But for all those people who talk about Benedict Mathurin being a better shooter, maybe his form looks a little bit better. Maybe he was a better three-point shooter in college. Last season, Jaden Ivey shot a higher percentage from three than Benedict Mathurin. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but that is the fact. But Jaden Ivey can't shoot, and Benedict Mathurin is a future marksman. That's what I kept hearing. Jaden Ivey was a better three-point shooter than Benedict Mathurin was last year. Facts.
And you know what? You talk about the rookie wall. Benedict Mathurin slapped into that thing like 30 games in, man. And again, that happens. But Ivy, it seemed like for him, it was kind of the opposite. And I'd much rather have my rookie start off bad and end really well. That's how Cade started.
Yes.
Coming off an ankle injury, struggled a little bit at the beginning. But at the end, he was doing something that MJ only did in the month of March. So, it's better to end on a good note than end on a bad note going into your next season. Let's see here. E-Fog says, Jeff rocking that OG t-shirt. Fire. Appreciate it, my man. Yeah, I had to rock the bad boy shirt today. I was worried this morning I was going to be looking for clothes in the pitch dark, but luckily we're okay. We're going to go to break. When we get back, I want to have an interesting, uncomfortable conversation because if you've been watching Summer League at all, and again, you got to see Ermanni Bates. And Ermanni Bates is balling. He is for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was taken in the second round, which a lot of people thought he'd be a late first-round pick. Did the Pistons miss on Ermanni Bates? Does Troy Weaver have buyer's remorse? We'll get into that conversation and much more. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Dispo, because you can join us and the Dispo family live at their Hazel Park location on July 14th for Ermanni and Edwards and the Woodward heavyweights from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Come prepared as Dispo Dispensary takes your cannabis experience to new heights. Located at 634 West 9 Mile Road, Hazel Park, Michigan. See you there for Ermanni and Edwards with Maz and the Heavies live July 14th. By the way, it's Friday. Come out to Hazel Park at Dispo, your local cannabis plug.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're watching on the website, check out our clips and previous live episodes, articles, merchandise, and more. If you're watching on YouTube, like this episode and subscribe. And if you're listening via podcast, download and leave a 5-star review. Then go follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports.
I love this comment. Admin Washington says, there are two sides to a basketball court. Bates is horrible on defense. Absolutely buns. Okay, now to start the conversation. Ermanni Bates, drafted in the second round. Pistons took Marcus Sasser, traded up for him, grabbed him. And I'll get my thoughts out of the way because mine are pretty straightforward. I don't think they're going to regret taking Ermanni unless, because again, this is Summer League guys. Like, I'm consistent with this. Just beware. And I know Summer League, everyone gets talking, ooh, this player's playing well. Ermanni Bates is playing well. Did the Pistons miss on Ermanni Bates? Trust me, it's more than just basketball, and that's the part of it, which for Jalen Carter, it's different sports, but I understand. Although I want Jalen Carter, I wanted Jalen Carter so bad. I understand the philosophy on why they didn't take Jalen Carter. I understand it. And if you understand why that, Troy Weaver didn't take Ermanni Bates, he said something very key in his presser, or Monty Williams' presser, but Troy Weaver said it. He said, I'd put this locker room up against anybody in the NBA. He said that to Monty Williams. We got hardworking guys that take the game serious, that want to win, that want to do whatever it takes to win. And you just added 2 guys in the draft that have that similar mindset. Asar and Marcus Sasser, both dogs, both guys that you want to go to war with. I don't know if Ermanni Bates, and again, it's Summer League, who knows? He could have a great career. But at this point, before the draft, man, that combine score for him, mixed with the question marks off the court, mixed with will he fit with Monty Williams and the system they're going to ask him to do a lot of things, not just score the basketball. I mean, that's not what the NBA is about. It's not just scoring. You got to do a lot of different other things. I don't think Ermanni Bates, I don't think the Pistons will regret not taking him just because of all the question marks that Ermanni Bates has. There's a lot less with Marcus Sasser, and I think Marcus Sasser fits a need, backup point guard role in the future.
Well, and here's the thing, and I know maybe you can call me crazy, but I don't think you can pass on somebody who ended up being picked 49 overall. I mean, Ermanni Bates, even though Ermanni Bates has had one of the strangest sort of falls from grace that I've seen in recent memory, although he did still get drafted, credit to him. In the 2021 recruiting rankings, according to 24/7, he was the 5th ranked recruit in the entire country. He was ranked ahead of Jalen Duren, Jabari Smith, and Scoot Henderson. Jalen Duren's obviously a proven NBA player as a rookie, and Jabari Smith and Scoot Henderson were the 3rd overall pick and the 2nd overall pick in their respective drafts.
He was the next Kevin Durant.
Right. Like he was so hyped up, and the fact that he was kind of in our backyard, we all knew who Ermanni Bates was, and he was ranked not that far behind Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, and Shaedon Sharpe. But in his one season at Memphis, I hate to say it, but Ermanni Bates was terrible. He was absolutely awful.
And uncoachable.
Terrible and uncoachable. He averaged 10 points a game on 39% shooting and 33% three and 65% from the free throw line. That is absolutely terrible. It was so bad, and the situation was so toxic with him and Penny Hardaway that he had to transfer to Eastern Michigan University. I understand that that's his hometown of Ypsi, but at the same time, going to Eastern Michigan University and playing college basketball after a couple years before being hyped as the next big thing possibly in the NBA, even people saying he's the next Kevin Durant, that is a hell of a fall from grace. Wouldn't you agree, Jeff Iafrate?
Yo, it is.
And in his one season at Eastern, I'm not even mentioning that workout because you already touched on it, that combine. In his one season at Eastern, he didn't exactly dominate like we all maybe thought he would going into that conference. He averaged 19 and 6 on 41, 33, and 78 shooting splits, which is just simply not good enough. He was a bit of a shot jacker. And yes, Eastern Michigan, despite adding Ermanni Bates, who at one point was a top 5 talent coming out of high school, Eastern Michigan limped to an 8-23 record. So obviously Ermanni Bates has upside. He has all the talent in the world, but I don't think the Pistons are going to regret passing on him. I still think that it's a shot in the dark because he fell all the way to 49. And like I said before, that combine, those numbers, it looked ugly. I will just say that. Mm-hmm. And I think that Marcus Sasser is going to fill. That's the thing. Are you basically saying that you would have rather maybe they stood pat and drafted Ermanni Bates over Marcus Sasser? Absolutely not. Marcus Sasser is polished. Marcus Sasser is more mature, and he's a better three-point shooter, and he can be the backup point guard, and he can play defense. There is no way in hell that the Pistons regret not taking Ermanni Bates. The only reason this is a conversation is because he is Ermanni Bates, and he was once like Metro Detroit's own. That's it. That's all.
Well, the other part of it too, and you look at character for anybody you take, that matters. And Marcus Sasser, the leadership he provides, again, the skill set you mentioned, like all that stuff, and it's maybe not as a sexy pick as Ermanni Bates, but still, that's how you win in the NBA. You need guys that know their role and are going to excel at their role. And Ermanni Bates, for me, although he's intriguing, it's not just the Pistons. 30 teams passed on him. And some teams passed on him twice.
Yes.
So it's not just the Pistons. I mean, Ermanni Bates had a fall from grace for somebody that many thought would be a top pick after Wembanyama just years ago. Now he's taken in the second round, and I think for Cleveland, I see on Twitter the Cavs have solved their answer at the 3. Like they got Ermanni Bates. Dude, for Ermanni too, and you described him as a shot jacker. He is. He's inefficient. He can score. not an efficient rate. That's what separates him and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is a 50-40-90 guy.
Yep.
I don't know if Ermanni Bates will be that, but there are too many character concerns for me, and at least for Troy Weaver, to consider him a miss if instead of Marcus Sasser. But what say you, JB? What do you think? Ermanni Bates, should the Pistons have taken him?
No, I think the Pistons were right with who they taking Marcus Sasser right now. And guys, come on, it's the summer league. We gotta chill out about this. Victor Wembanyama had a terrible first two games actually in the summer league, and then next thing you know, he's picking things up. He's learning things a little bit better. He's learning his teammates a lot more. I think that's the same that's going on right now with Ermanni Bates. Will he have a better career? Who knows? I mean, he might go into this NBA season with a chip over his shoulder because he was a very top and highly noted draft pick, and then all the problems started happening. He started dropping further and further and further. So, yeah, he's going to come into the season with a chip on his shoulder, but still, I don't think that Weaver missed on this guy. I think he did his due diligence, looked into him, and seen that, hey, Marcus Sasser is a better fit and a need, as you said, Jeff, for this team right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and again, it's not as much of a risk if you take him in the second round. But again, the Pistons, they didn't have a second round pick. They took Marcus Sasser, they traded up. So you'd have to take him in the first round, which no team was going to do that. So it didn't line up for the Detroit Pistons. But I want to get to some of these comments too. People are chiming in. D-Buck says, I think Ermanni will be good in the NBA. Shooters usually do not decline from college to the NBA. This is where we went wrong by drafting Killian over Tyrese Halliburton.
That's a little bit different because
it's also fair though.
Okay,
they did miss on Killian.
They did miss, and they should have got Tyrese Halliburton. But what are you implying, that Ermanni Bates was a good shooter in college? Because he most certainly was not. Did you hear the stats? 33% from three in his college career.
He was very streaky.
Very streaky.
Like he would go against your college, your school, and Michigan, and he played really well.
He did.
And then he'd go on and struggle against some random no-name university. So it's the streakiness, I guess, of Ermanni that's more concerning.
Sure, and I mean, and honestly, if Ermanni Bates were that truly elite player, I think he would have done enough to get Eastern Michigan better than an 8-23 record against that competition.
Well, how do you contribute to winning?
Yes. And also, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they can afford to take a swing on somebody like Ermanni Bates because they were a playoff team last year. Mm-hmm. And obviously, Ermanni Bates has a high upside. We all agree with that. Like, those type of talented players who are top 5 in recruiting rankings, they don't just grow on trees. But at the same time, the Pistons couldn't really do that. They needed players who can contribute now. This was a team that has won 60 games in the last 3 years combined. That was a 17-win team last season, albeit a lost season for Cade Cunningham. They can't afford to take that kind of a swing. I mean, maybe you can at the top. They kind of did with Asar Thompson, but I don't think the floor with Asar Thompson or Marcus Sasser is nearly as low as what it could be for Ermanni Bates. If they would have drafted Ermanni Bates in the first round, or even at pick number 25, it could have been a complete disaster for the Pistons. I don't think there's any scenario in which the Marcus Sasser pick, or the Asar Thompson pick for that matter, is a disaster.
Kevin Bell says, Jeff and Sam, what was Isaiah Thomas's three-point percentage in his career? 28%, so please stop. 33% is not bad. It's also over 30 years ago.
And it's Isaiah
so the NBA's
Thomas.
Listen, Kevin, I get what you're saying, but it's a very different league. Like, guys grow up now shooting threes at a young age. Like, back then, the three-point line wasn't as valued. Now you got to be able to shoot the ball. So 33% back in the 80s, okay, decent. Nowadays, 33%, you can't do it. You got to shoot at least 35, 36.
I mean, you can shoot 32% in your entire playoff career and be considered one of the greatest shooters of all time. Larry Bird. That actually exists. Look it up.
Okay, well, Sam, you do realize that Larry Bird shot 41% in one of his final runs from start to finish.
Oh, and that's fair. And Larry Bird is, what? Larry Bird is an all-time great player, a top 10 player of all time, and a great shooter. But calling him an all-time great three-point shooter, I'm going to reiterate JJ Redick, is false. He was 32% from his career in the playoffs in three-point shooting. Those are just facts. I know you don't want to hear that. Oh, but he won that three-point contest one year with the sleeve still on, and he did the number 1 sign. Oh, he walked into the locker room and said, which of you is finishing second place? Oh, by the way, three-point contests mean bupkis. Bupkis. 0.0 in terms of NBA, like, all time. Nothing. Same with the slam dunk contest, by the way.
How dare you?
How dare I?
What's your beef with Larry Bird? And by the way, Pistons fan, you're not a big fan of Larry Bird, but you got to respect him.
No, Larry Bird is a top 10 player of all time. Overrated shooter.
How is he an overrated shooter? I don't understand. From what? Like, what's over for you? Overrated meaning what? Like, what people think he's one of the greatest shooters and you don't think he is?
I don't think he can be called an all-time great three-point shooter. And people actually do that. He's not an all-time great three-point shooter.
Even in a league where shooting the three ball wasn't common, and Larry Bird comes out, he's a sniper. And not only that, I think Larry Bird is one of those players that could play in any era. You put him in today's NBA, he'd be fine.
Okay,
he'd be doing the same thing.
But I am going to quote an NBA YouTuber in Rusty Buckets because I respect him, and I'm sure you've watched him. You cannot do this based on hypotheticals. Hypothetically, he probably would be a great three-point shooter in the modern NBA. But the reality of the situation is, and I know I kind of hijacked the conversation and put it on Larry Bird, is for his playoff career, he is a 32% three-point shooter. The reason I brought that up is because Kevin Bell was like, oh, Emoni Bates, 33% in college. That's not that bad. Isaiah Thomas was 28%. By the way, that is one of the worst comments I've ever seen on the YouTube chat, by the way, because Isaiah Thomas obviously had a specific set of skills, one of the best passers and floor generals in NBA history, but that's beside the point. It doesn't matter if you shot poorly from three back in the day. It was a different era. That's always what I hear. I can smell an old head from a mile away.
Wait, hold on.
From a mile away.
Why? Oh, that's impressive. Dave says, Dave Schultz, and I got to read this comment. Someone said Bird is better than Day-to-Day Davis, and Sam got butthurt and went on his rant. You think Anthony Davis is better than Larry Bird?
Larry Bird is obviously a better all-time player than Anthony Davis. I never said that.
What is this?
So Dave's lying.
When have I ever said that Anthony Davis is a top 10 player of all time? When have I ever said that? Of course he's lying. Larry Bird is a top 10 all-time player. I would argue that Anthony Davis is a top 40 all-time player. There are levels to this.
All right. I was just checking. I didn't want to get it twisted. If you said it, I was going to call you out, but he didn't, so we're good. We'll move on. Let's see. Steve-O says, Sam, you're not you when you're angry. Have a Snickers.
I'm not angry. I'm actually a very, very happy person. It's just the people in the chat that get me going.
Roger says, remember, they actually played defense in Bird's era.
Oh, my God. Because every time you went to the paint, you just got, shot and just smacked every single time. Oh, my goodness. The whole, the physicality.
Yeah, well.
Have you seen some of those games?
Yeah, the hand check and all that. I do think it matters because I use the same argument with Rashid. I always say if Rashid played in today's NBA, he'd average more points because of who he was. Like, he averaged, somewhere in the 20s points per game in Portland, but that was a league where they were scoring 80, 90 points.
Sure.
So he's scoring 1/4 of their points. So I think as the game speeds up, Rashid would be better. I think Larry Bird would be as well, but it is what it is. I don't know how we got to Larry Bird. It's just Sam thinks he's overrated as a shooter.
As a shooter, not as a player.
Not as a player. As a shooter.
Larry Bird.
You're high, but go on.
Would dominate in the modern NBA. I know that.
Okay.
I know that. All-time great player.
Okay, we got to get to that. That's another time. That's a topic for another day because we could talk about Larry Bird, and I could argue with him all day about it. We'll go to break. When we get back, we got our guy joining us, Michael Gentry, Red Wings beat reporter for Woodward Sports. We'll break down Alex DeBrincat and much more. But before we do that, Sam, could you tell everybody where they can get their haircut?
Absolutely. And now that BMG just walked into the room, I got to look good because I'm sitting next to studs every single day like Jeff Iafrate, Jeremy Bryant, Mike Gentry, Lucas Klotz, and of course the lovely Gabrielle D. Phillips, and they always have me looking my tip-top best at this Lady Jane's. I'm looking at it right now. I might go get a haircut within the next couple of weeks, but they recently did me up, so I think I will be fine. And you can walk into any Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you and one for your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
The Sports Marketing Agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Play, practice, and party at 5 Iron Golf coming this July to Detroit, located inside of the Cambria Hotel. Downtown's newest sports bar has 13 TrackMan simulators, certified instructors, and a full bar and restaurant. Mention promo code Woodward at checkout for 50% off your first visit, and visit 5irongolf.com to tee up good times. That is 5irongolf.com.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. And joining us, a good friend of mine and good friend of the network here, covers the Red Wings for Woodward Sports, the other half of the Jeff and Gentry Show, and a part of the new show that we will be filming on Jeff and Gentry, Lucas Booner, myself, and Michael Gentry. Michael Gentry, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks
the
for having
boy.
me.
The boy.
The
Lucas,
myth, the Gentry.
You got to do the bark every time I come in.
Now that's an intro.
I can't do this, goes Lucas.
And I'm happy we got Mike on because now this is post Alex DeBrincat trade. We had John right before the trade, and we talked about when that will happen. It happened, and he's now a Red Wing. I want your thoughts, number one, on the acquisition, what he'll do immediately for this team this season, and just how he fits with this roster as it is.
I think he's the perfect fit. Obviously, Dylan Larkin has never had a player like DeBrincat on his wing. I mean, you could say Lucas Raymond is blooming to be what you would hope with Alex DeBrincat. Mm-hmm. But what Alex DeBrincat brings is a goal scorer that the Red Wings haven't had. And then you locked him down for the contract and the term that Steve Yzerman wanted, and you didn't give up that much doing so. So for the Red Wings, it's a full win. I think you couldn't have asked for much more. I'm glad it boiled down the way it did, and they didn't rush before the draft, rather, because I feel like it panned out perfectly in the way Yzerman wanted it to.
And another part of that, too, in the conversation we had, at least when the deal before the draft, is Ottawa wanted the 9th pick involved. Stevie strong-armed him. It didn't get done. People were worried. If you don't get Alex DeBrincat, is the offseason a fail? But people don't understand that, especially for a GM like Steve Yzerman, it's not about getting Alex DeBrincat. It's about getting him on his terms, on Stevie's terms. Now, the contract was a big one. What was it? He wanted a 7-8 year deal?
Yeah, well, DeBrincat, that was what was rumored, and then obviously it boiled down to the 4-year, but
which is
yeah,
awesome.
And he said he was okay with that, and it worked out perfectly with both sides. So that's really what you want as a team.
Now, can you see a scenario? And I know you'll say yes, but the likelihood that Alex DeBrincat, because the biggest criticism, people say his size, which is BS. But the other thing is he played with good players. Patrick Kane, obviously, being one of those guys, and he played really well playing alongside him. And now Larkin, he's not Kane, but he's still really good. And Larkin, obviously the playmaker he is. Can Alex DeBrincat get to that 40 goal mark this season? You think it's possible?
I don't know. 40 goals, like year one, that's a stretch. Obviously, he isn't playing with a player like Patrick Kane in his prime. But I do think he reaches like the 30 goal mark and should be around 70, 80 points, 100%.
All right, BMG. So now with the addition of Alex DeBrincat, is next season 100% playoffs or bust for the Detroit Red Wings?
I feel like everyone asked me this. From like a fan's perspective, I think you would say that, but from my perspective, I still do see there is a little holes, and I think you just want to see improvement, and I do think they'll be sniffing the 90-point mark, which may even get them into playoffs, but this division just keeps getting better. I don't think I would view it as a failure. I just think you should look for them to make a big step forward. Like last year was, a decent step forward, and they were fighting at the deadline, and then they sold off assets. But this year, I think, obviously, you did sign a couple people that you may send off at the deadline, but as a team, I think they take a big step forward this year, and they should be sniffing playoffs.
And I never got to ask you, and I want to ask you now, what did you think of the draft, the first round, overall for the Red Wings? Because we talked about it, but from your perspective, you had an up-close view. What do you think?
I did say Nate Danielson was one of my players. I did want Oliver Moore, and I did say that he might fall later in the draft, but I do like Nate Danielson as right-handed center. He plays a two-way game. He can really do all you ask for. And Axel Sandin-Palinka, he's a smaller offensive defenseman, but he can really do it all. He can play defense. He can use his body, even though he is so small. Mm-hmm. And he really brings like a power play threat that the Red Wings need. So obviously we won't see these guys for a few years, but overall I think Steve did very well in the draft, and he did go defense heavy in the later rounds, but those are prospects that you can move later on in the line, down the line, because those guys are valued more. So
absolutely.
You know, with the addition of Alex DeBrincat, I was thinking of something. In a perfect world, you wouldn't want Dylan Larkin to be the number one scorer on your team. No. You'd probably want him to be your number 2 center, which is where he will probably be at if he's ever on a Stanley Cup contending team. So how much pressure will Alex DeBrincat take off of Dylan Larkin to kind of be the guy?
I think he will actually take a lot of pressure off because he has been in leadership roles in the past with Chicago and then obviously Ottawa this past season. So I think he'll take a lot of that pressure off of him. And when you watch this past season, a lot of those games you've seen, especially down the stretch, down the end of the season, Dylan Larkin was carrying this team hard and was one of the only players producing. So I think as far as goal scoring goes, DeBrincat's going to get a weight off of Larkin's back for sure.
Yeah, and the big part, too, you look at this upcoming season, and you kind of alluded to it already about expectations, and I know people would say playoffs are busts, but even Stevie, and it's funny because before the Alex DeBrincat trade, while he was still negotiating, he's like, yeah, we're not out of that rebuild phase yet, and people were frustrated by that. But I do think there's a little bit of truth to that. 5 years, they say, into the rebuild, but it's not really 5 years into the rebuild. It's really, it's years of trying to get assets, get cap available. Like, Red Wings had to get the assets they have now to go get Alex DeBrincat. And the Red Wings, it seemed like, at least in the market, it was just the Red Wings. Like, the Islanders don't have cap space. The Red Wings had the best situation for cap, assets, and situation. Obviously, Alex wanted to be here. What's the timeline you think look like for this team now? Because they made some free agency additions. Anybody out of that group of guys they signed that stands out to you that you like besides Alex DeBrincat? Anybody significant?
I think Sprong is kind of like an underrated guy. He's 20 goal scorer. He can go and get it. He's going to be a big improvement to those bottom lines. But then I would just have to say Gostisbehere, Ghost. He's going to be a huge help. I don't know how they're going to they signed Hull too. They got a lot of defensemen. I don't know how they're going to work around that right now, but those two players, I really like both those signings. Even though you only have Ghost for 1 year, if the Red Wings aren't doing so swell, you can ship them off at the deadline, and you could probably get a hefty return for them. So
now $8 million left, roughly, in cap space. What do the Red Wings need to do next? What do you think some needs are for Stevie, or do you think he's done this offseason?
I could see maybe you move on from like one of your defensemen, kind of like a Sherratt, and then you kind of upgrade the forwards a little bit, or you do sign a forward, or maybe he goes for a home run and signs Patrick Kane and just teams him up at the brink.
Well, that's actually, and now you bring that up.
That would be awesome, but probably not going to happen.
Now that you brought that up, actually, I'll ask you, and this is the first time, at least in Detroit, that at a trade deadline, a team will be buying. Usually it's the opposite. Usually they're selling. That's typically how it goes. The Lions, the Red Wings, I think, Pistons are getting there. Where you're going to start being a buyer. Is that what the Red Wings, you foresee this trade deadline? Is there any more selling?
It really,
will it be more buying?
It really just depends how the team's doing. Like, if they're kind of in that same length where they were last year, Steve may look at it as the same and let me gain some more assets so then I can acquire Alex DeBrincat the next season or another guy. So it really just depends on how they're playing. They could be either or, but as for Red Wings fans, I'm sure we all hope that they're buying and they're contending at the deadline. So.
No, first off, I'm really glad that you, I guess, Gostisbehere's nickname is Ghost. I didn't know that. I feel like I sound really stupid saying his name.
I know. I butcher his name like every other time I say it, so it's
like I know.
Thankful.
Yeah, the YouTube comments kind of flamed me for that one. But anyway, with JT Compher, with Daniel Sprong, with Ghost, how big of a difference are those three players going to make when it comes to the depth of this team? Because I already think they have a playoff level first line.
It's going to be a huge difference. From last year, you kind of seen it was the first line, and then when they were on the power play, you seen them constantly putting up points and showing a little bit of strength. But when it boiled down to those bottom three lines, and then obviously when Rasmussen went out and those lines started to get depleted with Fabry, I think this is just the perfect reinforcements. And a lot of the JT Compher, these are hometown guys, so it's just perfectly built.
Now, for at least the young guys, the prospects, I mean, Edvinsson, you got a little, cup of coffee last year. Marco Kasper, your guy, Mike. Your guy.
Literal cup of coffee, but still, no.
Your guy, Marco Kasper.
His first year in the NA, his first year, that's impressive.
Now, out of all the guys, out of the young guys that are coming up, that you will see more this upcoming season, is there anybody that you're personally excited to see the most? Edvinsson, Kasper.
I would hope Kasper and Edvinsson do see some time, obviously up maybe even to start the year. I don't know how much Casper will play throughout the whole season, if he starts in GR, if he plays most of his time in there. But that's the player I'm mostly looking forward to. He's going to come in and he's going to make an immediate impact. No matter if it's second line, third line, center, he's going to be that dude.
Ooh, so
I was also told that by Michael Gentry.
Michael Gentry,
I was told.
will you go as far as to say, and I'm not putting you on the spot, that their 1C is already in the system of the future?
I would say, 1 to 2C for sure.
Okay.
All right, clip this.
Marco Casper is going to be that dude.
Mike's been consistent with Marco Casper.
I've said it from day one. He will be that dude.
I would give anything for that to be right. But anyway, I got one more question, because you mentioned a couple of names that I think people forget about. How important would it be to the Red Wings' success with a full season of Robbie Fabry and Michael Rasmussen?
Fabry, I mean, you really haven't gotten that in a long time, but you've seen the impact he made when he was in there. And Rasmussen, I think any line you put him on last year, he was doing well. So I think Ras, definitely. I even said this, I think yesterday, I would even love to see Ras on that top line with DeBrincat and Larkin. Just get a physical guy out there. And obviously DeBrincat's smaller and he's still physical, but if Ras is out there protecting those guys and the way he was producing throughout the season, I would love to see him.
And again, appreciate you for joining us, Mike. I want to have you on a lot more towards the Red Wings season as they get started. And by the way, check out my good friend Michael Gentry's work. Woodwardsports.com, writes articles for the Red Wings. Get updated, all things Red Wings. And where can people find you?
Michael Gentry Jr. on Twitter and the Jeff and Gentry Show on YouTube.
How do you not?
Oh, yes.
How do you not, baby?
Watch the Jeff and Gentry Show. Trust me.
Yeah, Lucas and Boone we got some things planned. We'll go to break. When we get back, I want to talk about something Brad Holmes said about Jahmyr Gibbs. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA, because the sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. And we just got done talking to a good friend of the show, Michael Gentry, about the Red Wings season. Now I want to move on to the Lions talk. Brad Holmes went on Peter Schrager's podcast, which you can go check out. Said a lot of gems in that episode. Went through Brad Holmes' history, getting in as a GM, his come up in the NFL, talking about the Lions. And Peter Schrager brought up Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs. And Lucas, do you have the video? Okay, throw this up. This is Brad Holmes talking about new Lions rookie running back Jahmyr Gibbs.
When did you fall in love with Jahmyr Gibbs, and what did you love about him?
Man, it's funny that you said you heard that about him going that early, because I was sitting here thinking, I was like, nobody's going to do this except us. And then after we picked him, then I heard all these other gentlemen.
Oh, yeah, no, that's who we wanted. Yeah.
Right? I'm glad you picked him there, because he wasn't going to make it. But, I first fell in love with him. Obviously, I didn't know about him that much when he was at Georgia Tech that year before. Yeah. So I went to that Texas-Alabama game early in the year, and I saw his body type, and like, this guy looked intriguing. Then I kind of saw what he was doing in both phases. He can run it, but what he was doing as a receiver and the explosiveness and everything about him, and we just kept doing work on him. And like I said, kind of do some draft prep during the season and kept doing work on him, and that was just kind of it for me. I was like, this guy's and he's a weapon. He's a weapon, and when you talk about all the running backs going in the first round and all that kind of stuff, I always say, like, if he's a weapon, then forget the RB
positionless players.
That's in,
right? Like that's how it looks.
That's what he is. Like, that's like we thought he was a multi-phase, elite, explosive, positionless weapon.
And there you have it. Brad Holmes talking about Jahmyr Gibbs with Peter Schrager. And again, the thing that stands out to me, and it's funny because it's the same things I've been preaching and trying to preach, is people put Jahmyr Gibbs in a box. And I understand that he plays running back. So you look at running back drafted 12th overall. Is it a reach? Is it not? The way Brad describes them and what Peter Schrager said, positionless players, guys that can do it all, just offensive weapons. If he played receiver at 12, you wouldn't have been an argument there. You took a receiver at 12, great, but it's a running back, so people have an issue with it. And he mentioned it. He went to the Texas and Alabama game, which was actually a really good game. I think that was the game Bryce Young led a late drive to win that game. And if you look, who was the leading receiver in that game?
Jahmyr Gibbs.
How many catches did he have against Texas? 9. 9 catches for 74 yards. I think, he is indeed a weapon, Sam. And people got to stop putting him in a box.
I mean, he is most certainly a weapon. I think one of the reasons that people do put him in a box is because, say what you want about Jahmyr Gibbs, I obviously think he has a high upside to contribute to this team right away and hopefully for years to come. As a running back, he never had an 1,000-yard season in college. Whether that means anything or not, I don't know, but that gave me a little bit of cause for pause, especially when if you would have stood pat at number 6, you could have drafted Jalen Carter or even Bijan Robinson, who I think is going to be better in the NFL than Jahmyr Gibbs. That's just me personally. But if Jahmyr Gibbs becomes that guy, okay, Lucas, I know you love you some Jahmyr Gibbs, and I like his upside as well, and we'll get to you in a second. I think if Jahmyr Gibbs, if he ever hits his ceiling, he will have to be one of those guys that, at least for a couple of years, leads the NFL in receiving yards by a running back. I think he has that kind of upside. I think if he's picked as high as he was, he should eventually do that one day. My worry about him is as an every down running back. If you're not going to be an every down running back and you're picked that high, you have to be Alvin Kamara at some point. And I don't know if he has that in him. I think he could. Lucas, I know you want to tear apart everything that I said because go ahead, Lucas.
Well, hold on.
Lucas.
I'll throw Lucas an alley-oop. How about that? I'll throw you an alley-oop. So, and you talked about he never had a 1,000-yard season. And this is the thing I think people get misconstrued in what the Lions were looking for. I don't think Brad went into the draft and said, I need a bell cow back. Because if he would have took Bijan. And you talked about it. For rushing, Bijan will be better. He'll get more carries. But for Jahmyr, and that's why I keep heading on overall as he's a weapon, because I think what Brad looks in how Jahmyr fits with this offense, he's a better fit because, again, you need guys, especially like DeAndre had last year, and I think DeAndre, the fit there was great, someone that you could line up at receiver, play running back as well, but he was never healthy. So if Jahmyr can be a DeAndre with more of a skill set and stay on the field, that's fine by me. But to your point, I like Bijan. I argued for Bijan, but I understand why, because David Montgomery's going to be that bell cow. Bijan in Atlanta will be that bell cow along with Tyler Algier. I don't think how they're each going to be used will be the same. And maybe Jahmyr's role as a receiver mainly was more enticing than Bijan. I think that's my reasoning behind it.
But can we agree, and Lucas, I even think you will agree, if he's going to pan out, he has to be an elite pass catcher as a running back.
That's fair.
Do I think he has it in him? Absolutely. But do I ever think he's going to be an elite runner of the football out of the backfield? Absolutely not. It wouldn't floor me if he never has an 1,000-yard season, but is still very, very productive and multiple-time Pro Bowler and great, a la Alvin Kamara, who has also never had an 1,000-yard season in the NFL, rushing.
Now, what about this before you go? Steve says, true or false, Gibbs is likely to be a game changer because taking a game changer at 12 is acceptable no matter the position.
Sure.
Is that fair, Lucas?
That is facts. And my whole thing is, again, I like Bijan Robinson, but Bijan Robinson in himself is going to command X amount of carries. And if he doesn't, he's going to get upset just because every star NFL player, when they don't get the touches they think they deserve, they're going to get upset. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be able to get touches in different ways. And the plain and simple fact of the matter is, think of all the upper echelon teams in the NFL right now. You have the Eagles, Chiefs, 49ers, you can say the Bills. All of those teams have running back by committee, and all of those running backs serve different purposes. You look at Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, they're nowhere near the diverse type that David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to give you more options within the game to make your offense more dynamic and pick up first down and third downs. I get it. He reminds us a lot of Alvin Kamara, but this man is a lot more athletic than Alvin Kamara. When it comes to running in between the tackles, yeah, he might not have 1,000 yards because that's not what he's going to be asked to do. David Montgomery is going to be asked the guy to go 1,000 yards each season, which I think he very well could. Jahmyr Gibbs, it would blow my mind if Jahmyr Gibbs did not have 1,000 total yards as a rookie and just keep increasing and increasing on that. There's no reason to worry about Jahmyr Gibbs, especially with this draft class, because if you really look at it, 1 through 20, there's not that many guys that you can be like, I'm pretty confident in him being a Pro Bowler. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of those, and that's why Brad Holmes, instead of waiting back and instead of our second round and getting a running back, he was like, you know what? This guy is a talent that you do not come across every day. I get that we see receiving backs coming out of the draft, but they're not backs like Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm sorry. Like, if you don't think he can run in between the tackles, I say it all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it. Watch the film.
No, I'm not saying that he can't.
Not you, but I'm saying, like, people that are like, oh, it was a waste of a pick at 12. It's like, no, watch the film. If you think he's a pick at 12, why would you ever take a wide receiver in the first round?
Especially when Peter Schrager reports and Brad also confirms the report that there was teams right after the Lions that were going to take Jahmyr Gibbs.
Okay, and that is 100% fair. And I'm not saying that Jahmyr Gibbs can't run between the tackles. All I'm saying is his usage as a runner at Alabama was a little bit underwhelming because he only carried the ball 20 times or more at last season twice, and in 5 games carried the ball less than 10 times. That is my only concern.
But that's his role.
Okay, that's fine, but at number 12 overall, I think Bijan Robinson is going to make a difference in this offense. I'm not saying that. And these are the type of people in the chat when I talk about pushing back on David Montgomery that I have to speak of, because I think this is asinine, even though, Lucas, you might agree. Hoof-hearted just said David Montgomery is greater than Bijan Robinson.
Okay, yeah, that's not correct.
I'll
stand with you on this one, Flannel.
Okay, David Montgomery, who in 3 of his 4 seasons rushed for less than 1,000 yards, and for 2 of his 4 seasons had less than 4 yards per carry. I know there's some context, Lucas, but David Montgomery is arguably a top half running back in the league. Not top 10, not top 5. He is above average with the potential to be good in this with the Lions, and he's better than Jamal Williams.
Okay,
but not the Atlantic Ocean better. He's more like the pond in your backyard better.
And the whole thing with David, I like David a lot. And honestly, check out the graphic on Woodward Sports, the Instagram page that Ryan worked on. David Montgomery, since entering the league, is top 10 in a lot of categories. But to your point, he's a top halfback, and I think they'll use him as such. He'll be the bell cow. I think he'll be productive playing behind the best offensive line he's ever played with. But Bijan is a beast.
Oh yeah, and Kevin Bell asked me a quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
He goes like, do you put him in the top 10 off the rip? Absolutely. I have him leading the NFC in rushing yards this season as a rookie. Playing in that Arthur Smith system behind that offensive line with Chris Lidstrom.
Whenever I hear Sam saying someone's going to lead the NFC in rushing, it's like That's So Raven. You know, you have that vision from your DeAndre Swift take. So maybe you'll jinx. Maybe it's a Sam Flannel jinx.
No, and I said the NFC, not the NFL, because in the AFC had most of the leading rushers last season with Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry. The leading rusher in the NFC was Saquon Barkley, who barely had over 1,300 yards, which is a great season. But I could see Bijan getting 1,400 or 1,500 this year.
And Gabby, someone who's up close with the team, at least the decision to take Jahmyr instead of Bijan. Mm-hmm. How do you think that played out for Brad Holmes, at least, to decide I'm going to take Bijan, or trade back and take my guy Jahmyr Gibbs instead of taking Bijan at 6?
Really, I'm not entirely sure, and he was very close-lipped about how he felt about it, how he was in the process. We knew that he had ideas going into the draft. Do I see this being a pick that he had already planned out ahead of time? Yes. He's talked a little bit about the conversations that he's had with him, and seen, the development of their relationship and how he's already fitting in with the team, and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And you look at at least around the NFL, and you look at backfields, I still think the Lions, as a backfield on paper, now Jahmyr has not played a down, but on paper, I do think with that offensive line, if you factor that in, if you want to, it's one of the more impressive backfields, at least the most exciting backfield to me in the NFL. There's a couple guys, at least duos, because there's better backs, of course, than David and Jahmyr. But as a 1-2 punch, if you have David Montgomery going for close to, if not 1,000 yards, and I would say book 1,000 yards from scrimmage for Gibbs. I think that's a guarantee.
1,000 yards from scrimmage isn't that big of a deal, though, Jeff.
Come on. No, I'm not saying it's not a big deal. I'm not saying it's a big deal. I'm saying book it at the minimum.
Sure, and I agree with that. I agree with you.
I think he'll have 600, something like that, 700. But 500, that's like the minimum. You got to get 1,000 yards from scrimmage, no doubt.
And I agree with that, by the way. Lucas, go ahead.
Yeah, so Alex in the back, our great intern, these are some stats, Flannel, that I want you to digest with David Montgomery and comparing him to Jamal Charles and DeAndre Swift. And I think why people like me are so up on David Montgomery coming to Detroit. Because look at this. It's saying over the last 2 seasons, yards before contact. This is before they get hit. DeAndre Swift had 3 yards before he was contacted. Jamal Williams had 2 yards. And David Montgomery was just under 2 yards. So before he even could get through the offensive line, he was getting hit a whole yard before those guys, and even 2 with Swift's case. And then yards after contact, David Montgomery has more than both of them. So if you counter that in, that's automatically giving you more yards per carry. And then just look at the rest of these. Rushing yards, he was 10th since entering the league. So there's a top 10 running back. Rushing touchdowns. Now think if he didn't have a good offense, if he had a good offensive line, he was 14th. So he's on the verge of it. First downs, 7th. Receptions, 13. So he has that pass catching ability that Jamal Williams.
Alex was cooking.
Dude, Alex in the back is a GOAT. But look, just if you look through all these stats, you see the promise, especially in the broken tackles. Like think about Jonah Jackson, Penei Sewell, and then behind him, David Montgomery catching a toss. That's going to take at least 4 or 5 defenders, and that's why my whole thing with Jahmyr Gibbs is like, okay, I get it. He's not that bell cow like Bijan Robinson is built, but when you have a guy like that with David Montgomery, you take him at 12, you now have a dominant 1-2 punch that we talk about J-Mo being out for 6 weeks. Injuries are going to happen at the receiver spot every year. When you have that to fall back on, that makes Jared Goff so much easier, and that's why this Jahmyr Gibbs pick, running back, he's a weapon, and he's a more valuable weapon than the running back position could ever slide him under.
And you know what, that's all fair. And for the record, with those yards before contact and yards after contact, and I hope that the chat understands this, David Montgomery is a better running back than certainly DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams as well.
Okay.
He's a better running back. I just think that people overvalued him like he's this massive upgrade when I think he is a solid upgrade. I will just say that. And you're right, Lucas. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, their upside as a backfield is very, very high, especially if Jahmyr Gibbs takes a prominent role in the passing game with Jamison Williams being out. I think that is his most likely way to make a mark, by the way. And just for the record, I'm not a Jahmyr Gibbs hater by any means. I think that he is going to have, like I said, 600. I think that is well within the realms of possibility. And I think, and you know what? Here's another prediction. I think Jahmyr Gibbs could maybe lead the all NFL running backs in receiving yards. I know it's going to be tough to beat out Christian McCaffrey. I think that's possible as well. I had a few concerns, and that's it. And I think Bijan Robinson is going to be transformational and generational. Yes. I think is a future Hall of Famer.
Do you just think Bijan as an overall running back is just more polished and like you've seen more enough to be confident? But if you see it from Jahmyr, then you'll be fine. You need to see a little bit more from Jahmyr.
I'm already fine with the pick as it is. I wasn't pounding the table for the Lions to take Bijan Robinson at 6. I was pounding the table for them to take Jalen Carter if he's available. Obviously, that dream is over. We will see how that plays out. I just think, and I'm sorry, let me say one more thing really quick. I just think that Bijan Robinson, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a better receiving back than Bijan Robinson, but Bijan's also a good receiving back as well. I think as a runner, Bijan Robinson has him beat by a magnitude of 5 at this point. Bijan Robinson is a 5-tool running back.
Yeah, you're right. And I want to go to break so we can get to what's trending. But I do got to say, it is surprising to me that when we talk about Penei Sewell, and Neil Rule claims he's a Hall of Famer, a little bit of pushback. That although you think it's possible, but you don't like anointing guys this early. But Bijan Robinson, before he even plays an NFL down, you think he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, but Penei Sewell's had 2 seasons and 1 Pro Bowl. He hasn't been dominantly generational. I think Bijan Robinson
hasn't even played yet.
Okay, that's fair, but I think Bijan Robinson will have 10 times more impact as a rookie than Penei Sewell did, because Penei Sewell's rookie season was good, not great. He took a leap in year 2. I'm just saying that I think Bijan Robinson is going to come right out the gate, be dominant, be one of the better backs in the league right away. Yeah. I think Penei Sewell he's made 1 Pro Bowl in 2 years.
Now, what if he has a Zeke-esque start, where the first 4 years he's an animal and then he kind of drops off? Is that still Hall of Fame worthy?
That's tough because you know what? I think Zeke Elliott is more deserving than people think, although I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Fair.
But Ezekiel Elliott came out of the gate though.
Oh, he was an animal.
Yes,
immediately the best back when he, and especially after his rookie season, that was ridiculous. We'll get to what's trending with Lucas, but I got to say this: Jahmyr Gibbs is gonna get, he's gonna be big time once he breaks out. and he's going to want to protect his home. A lot of crazy fans are going to be trying to get in and see what Jahmyr Gibbs is all about. So you got to get Guardian Alarm for protection. They got customized solutions, 24/7 professional monitoring, and technology backed by people. All you got to do is call them. 1-800-STAY-OUT. 1-800-STAY-OUT. Carl Anthony Towns, you're not in the Hall of Fame. 1-800-STAY-OUT. Call them. Get your house protected today.
Sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports. Detroit's winning sports network.
We're back here. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Again, thank you guys for tuning in, sticking with us almost towards the end of the show here, going into mailbag. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe. If you can't watch live, you can listen, re-listen to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, whatever you listen to. Leave a 5-star review. And if you're on the website, don't forget to check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, merchandise, and so much more at the website. But we got What's Trending with Lucas. What do you got for us, Lucas?
How are we doing today, fellas? So, I saw this over the weekend. I posted on my social. If any of you guys follow me on there, you probably saw it already. But Emmanuel Acho, dude is a bona fide clown. He has hot takes worse than Flannel sometimes. He legend kills just like him. But this one, it'll make you mad listening to about him talking about the Lions.
I think Detroit's the most overhyped team, not named the Jets. One, I'm not convinced the Detroit Lions actually know what they're doing. Last 3 years, they have the third worst record in football. Now, we hail them as though they know what they're doing because they went 9-8 last year. But I don't just look at records. I try to, watch the tape like Shady alludes to, but more importantly, I try to look at the nuances that the record tells you. Who did you beat? When did you beat them? How did you beat them? How did you look when you beat them? That's why Joy and I think we're on the bandwagon last year. The Minnesota Vikings were pretenders. If you look at their record, oh my God, they're so good. Watch the games, y'all. Pittsburgh Steelers, the year they lost to the Browns in the playoffs. Pretenders. Oh, they started off 11-1. Watch the games. When I look at the Detroit Lions and I think about who they beat, last year, 3-6 versus playoff teams. Dan Campbell's career, 5-11-1 versus playoff teams. They're not beating good teams. Now, they're beating bad teams, and in the NFC, maybe you have an argument. Well, there are a bunch of bad teams this year. But when I look at the Detroit Lions, I'm like, we grade them on a curve, rightfully so. I was drafted to Cleveland. I understand grading people on the curves, but I don't think they're legitimately all that.
I cannot stand this goddamn guy. If you're going to compare and say, we're going to we grade them on a curve, but I want to see who they beat. And you beat the Jaguars in the playoffs 40-14. You beat Aaron Rodgers, who has beaten this team down for year after year after year. You sweep them. You beat another playoff team in your division with the Vikings.
The Giants, another playoff team.
The Giants. The Jets, who were at that time were trending. I know they had Zach Wilson, but at the time you're going on the road. Jared Goff's thing was you can't win on the road. Same thing with the Giants. Yeah, Jared Goff didn't play how you'd expect him to be, like 250 yards, boom, 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 but he won the game. And then people complain about him when he's thrown for 300 yards in Carolina when they lost. There is no way that you can think that this Detroit Lions team is not a legitimate team, especially when you look at the management. That's what just stops this whole argument. This man has no idea who Brad Holmes is, because I guarantee if he did, he wouldn't be saying half the shit out of his mouth right now.
No, and then that goes with, like, you know, you have a segment on the prep sheet, and Acho looks at it and says most overhyped team, and he's like, we'll go with the Lions.
Sure.
Because that's everybody's darling, and of course you got to have pushback. So I get it, but his points, I mean, they're terrible.
No, and
they're terrible.
For the record, I disagree with everything he says. It's just when you're an up-and-coming team, obviously the entire local media thinks that they're going to win the division. A lot of the national media does as well, especially when you're a poor franchise like the Lions. You are going to get some pushback, especially from guys like Emmanuel Acho, who, Lucas, I agree, I'm not a fan of. So take it with a grain of salt. Let's just have a great season this year, Detroit Lions, and shut that man up, because he needs to have that mouth shut. Bad.
Yeah. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and he went on over the weekend and said even more just out of pocket stuff. But sticking with the Lions here, DeAndre Hopkins. There's obviously a lot of hype about him going to Buffalo, and recently, yesterday, this is what there was a post put up yesterday, and it says, rumor, Bills opening and signing D-Hop if he's willing to ring chase. And under it, he decided to put, I don't know if you want to call it a bill emoji, but like a cow emoji and then some shit after it. So obviously, D-Hop, he's not going to Buffalo. He's got offers from Tennessee and New England, but I don't know any NFL fan that wants to see DeAndre Hopkins catching passes from Mac Jones or Ryan Tannehill. And I just want to double down here. I want to get you guys' opinion. I've been saying it from day one. DeAndre Hopkins and the Detroit Lions, especially now that he's a free agent, we talked about Cooper Kupp. It is the most perfect fit that this team could possibly have. He's been in quarterback hell the last 2-3 seasons in Arizona. I get Kyler Murray's talented, but he's not winning you anything. And this man has produced numbers as a top 5 wide receiver. You can say what you want. I think D-Hop is right on the fringe of that. If you can get that at a low price for 1 year, when this man is looking at the Titans and the Patriots, why not go get D-Hop for a season?
And just to get some clarification, Booner said that's bull, you know what?
Bullshit.
Bull
I'll say it for you.
crap emoji. So clearly he was saying the article's bull crap, or the report was bull crap. But to talk about for DeAndre, and this is what's tough. You see Tennessee, you see New England. You're like, why? Yeah. Well, connections. Bill O'Brien, OC for the Patriots. Bill O'Brien, former head coach for DeAndre Hopkins. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Vrabel with the Texans?
Vrabel was with the Texans. That's why I could see.
So
it,
like you see
you gotta be staring down the barrel of, okay, I got Ryan Tannehill. We were just talking about it earlier. If Ryan Tannehill gets hurt, you got Will Levis or Malik Willis. And you got Trevor Lawrence, who you could still join if you wanted to, but...
To your point, yeah. I mean, didn't he come out with a quarterback list he wanted to play for?
Yeah.
And Mac Jones and Ryan Taylor were not on that list.
Yeah, it was all the, like, Josh Allen. Like, you name the top QBs, that's who he was saying. I think
it's more about DeAndre, and he came out and said it, when I don't get 1,000 yards, I'll retire. Clearly, he's looking at a situation where they need a number 1 wide receiver, which... speaks on what he wants. You want to win, or do you want to put up great stats, or find a team where you can kind of do both? He wants the stats. Because Patriots, you're what, the 4th best team in your division?
Yeah.
And then the Tennessee Titans are pretty much cooked at this point.
Yeah, and I don't think DeAndre Hopkins would be enough to put either of those teams over the top. Maybe more likely the Titans because they play in a weaker division, but I think very, very highly of Jacksonville. But like Lucas said, DeAndre Hopkins, for everybody who acts like he's slowing down, and last season he played 9 games and had over 700 receiving yards. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro as a wide receiver, which is absurdly hard to do. Lucas, you know that very, very well.
And think about when he was in Houston, he was doing it with like Ryan Mallett, and I can't even think of the quarterbacks. Yeah, terrible situation. But he was doing it with nobody. And then last year with Colt McCoy, he put up 700 yards
that's insane.
in the last half of the season. 700 yards with Colt McCoy. And James Conner was a bell cow back.
And he shouldn't be.
So we gotta get to mailbag. You got anything else for us?
Yeah, we'll send it. We'll go to break after this. There's really not much to say about this. I kind of just wanted to troll Jeff here. But I saw this on Pistons Twitter yesterday. I just had to share it. Don't give up on Killian Hayes just yet, apparently.
Except the lotion just wouldn't quite fall. Now here's Crawford on the other corner.
Wow. Oh, Jeff. All right. What do you got to say about that, Jeff? You still have faith in Killian Hayes? Does he remind you of Harden a little bit? You think he could bring that Harden out? You think Sasser's going on the back seat?
You know what, Killian Hayes, this is what you're going to do.
Scrub.
You're going to go to Houston. You're going to go to Houston. You're going to check out some strip clubs. Or you can go to Detroit. And that's where you're going to get your powers, like James Harden did. Go to strip clubs, and you may end up like James Harden.
Hang out with Lil Baby for a little bit.
Hang out with Lil Baby. You know what I mean? Go kind of, enjoy the nightlife a little bit. Maybe you get his superpowers. Who knows? But what's funny about that clip? Killian Hayes coming out of the draft was the French James Harden because of his step back.
Oh, my God.
Jeff...
Safe to say he's not James Harden, Sam.
The only thing worse than Killian Hayes' play on the basketball court are the Killian Hayes, like, he has a cult fan base, and I've just never understood it. For once in your career, Killian Hayes, can you shoot 40% from the floor and 30% from 3? No, that's right, he can't. Even in his breakout year last year, he didn't do that. But all I have to hear about is, his defense and his playmaking, and when he shoots a jumper off the right hand, he shoots 45%, and in these last couple games, he shoots 40% from 3. Put it together for a season, Killian Hayes. You suck. He blows. All the Killian Hayes super fans, stop it. Get some help. Cue Michael Jordan.
Flannel might be more redder than his flannel right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, MJ.
Yeah, a lot of, you know what? A lot of guys catching strays today from Sam Flannel. I mean, you had Larry Bird, Killian Hayes. Like, no one's safe.
Oh, you're gonna want to hear this one on Mailbag.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Because Steve Wild said something, boy.
All right, let's get to Mailbag here. Before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Big Boy, because James Harden now kind of looks like a big boy after these last couple of years. Strawberry Fest is back. Try classic breakfast items like some strawberry hotcakes or a mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with the refreshing summer splash salad. You can get dessert as well. All that and more at Big Boy.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com. Thanks so much for tuning in all morning from 8 to 10. After this, you can check out Big D Energy from 11 to 1, Ermanni and Edwards from 2 to 4, and then your Woodward Heavyweights from 5 to 7. Thanks for following along all day today, and follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports. And now it's time for Mailbag.
Sam, you had a beef with a statement by somebody. What was the statement?
Okay, so this is Steve Wildes back in the day, and I think a lot of people
Steve Wildes, my guy,
are really not gonna like this. Bijan isn't generational. He is 4.445 speed and wins through power. Sorry, he isn't Bo Jackson. Speaking of overrated, yes, I will not stop it because you are going to listen. You are going to listen to these facts I'm about to present you with. So Bo Jackson was never a Hall of Famer in either the NFL or the MLB. Bo Jackson, for his career, rushed for 2,792 yards. And I know his career was cut short due to injury. He should have just chose football because his baseball career was much more underwhelming than you would all like to think. He was a one-time All-Star. His on-base percentage in his All-Star season was .310, and his lifetime on-base percentage was .309. And when you look at the pantheon of all-time rushing leaders, when I go to NFL Reference right now, I'm on that site right now, it stops at number 250. Giovanni Bernard, 3,783, and other people kind of near him. How about Pierre Thomas, Isaiah Crowell, Lucas, you remember him, Clark Hinkle, Wilbur Jackson, James Conner, Kenyon Drake, who's never even been a starting running back except maybe one season, Walt Garrison, Randy McMillan, and Justin Forsett, best known for his knee-down touchdown that Jim Schwartz improperly challenged, and that ended up being a touchdown. Bo Jackson is the most overrated sports figure in the history because people literally call him the greatest athlete of all time. I hope Bijan Robinson isn't like Bo Jackson as an NFL player. If you want to get more stats, if you want to be in the Hall of Fame, then don't play baseball. I get it on a per game basis. He was a damn good back.
Well, it's not about.
Just take some time, Joe.
It's not. Yeah. It's not about him doing what Bo Jackson did in the NFL. Because you do realize Bo Jackson was pretty damn good at two sports. That's the significance of that. But Bijan obviously is not going to play baseball, so there's no comparison there. Yeah. I don't know. Bo Jackson overrated.
You can use the stats, but the fact of the matter is, if this guy had if he had half the career time like that Kenyon Drake had, he's blowing him out of the water in every category.
I know that, obviously.
So then let's pump the brakes a tad on, like, okay, some people talk about Bo Jackson like he's a top 5 running back because they loved Bo Jackson when he was playing. That's not the case. Could he have been? Yes. And the skill set is there. So to call him the most overrated running back of all time, it's It's a little steep, Flannel. It's a little steep.
But that's the problem that and Lucas, I understand that he was hurt. He only played 4 years. But my problem is, I think this is the flaw with the eye test, because people will see, oh, did you see when he ran over Brian Bosworth? Did he see when he scored that touchdown on Monday Night Football and ran into the back of the tunnel? I get that he was talented and electric. Oh, and my favorite, did you see when he caught that fly ball and then ran up the outfield wall, which means absolutely nothing. It's just an out. Those are the type of things that I don't care about. Because the reality of the situation is, in his career, he had a lifetime on-base percentage of .309, and in his 4-year career as a running back, he had 2,792 yards, which isn't even in the top 250 of all time. I look at those silly little things called numbers. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, we got to get to questions. That's the problem. We got 1 minute of the show, and we don't get to any questions.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire. And now everyone's chiming in about Bo Jackson.
Yeah. Drop the questions. We'll do 2 minutes of questions.
Lucian says, does Sam really think Cat is better than Big Ben Ben Wallace all time?
Yes.
Dude.
Just move on.
Not now, but he's going to be. Not now, but he's going to be.
Next one.
Like, that one should be. Like, I don't even know if I can keep going, dude. Let's see. Griffin says, mailbag for Flannel. Who is someone that is notoriously underrated according to your stats?
Ooh, underrated is a good one.
I don't think about that much.
No. I do. I would say underrated when it comes to stats. You're going to really hate this, Lucas. I don't think he's great, but I think Kirk Cousins is a little underrated.
Shut the
He's had every single year as a starter, he's had 25 plus touchdown passes.
Adam Thielen, Delvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, TJ Hawkinson, keep going down the line.
What about during Washington,
Next question.
No, it's over. Show's over. Like, we got to get out of here. Appreciate you guys. You know what? I apologize. I personally apologize that we couldn't get to more questions. We will do a little more extended mailbag tomorrow to fill that void. Appreciate all you guys for tuning in, taking the time out of your morning, for choosing the Morning Woodward Show. From Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, who hates Bo Jackson,
I do.
JB, Gabby, and Lucas. We appreciate you, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.